Can you guys see me now? Okay, I think what's happening is that there are so many people jumping on that it might be slowing it might be glitching us a little bit, but we tested this software rigorously yesterday and today, so we should be good. Well, actually, you're not wrong, Roger. It is kind of a metaphor in how we start blindly. So first of all, let me just say thank you and welcome to our Secrets of Human Influence Masterclass. Before I go into the formal presentation, a couple of things that I would like to get out of the way. Like I said before, please type in where you're checking in from and if you're a first-time viewer or not. And the reason that I ask that is because the more I know about the people in my audience, the more I can tailor the information to you. A lot of my webinar students are multiple viewers. In other words, they've become lifelong learners and students in NLP Power and what I lovingly call Planet David. And so many times I have a no one gets left behind policy, which means I'm going to teach material that is geared towards the level of the people in the room. So if I have a lot of beginners, we're going to start at the very bottom. If I have all, expert or seasoned people, I'm gonna modify content, and I reserve the right to modify content for you based on the feedback that I get. I'm an instructor who thrives a lot on interactiveness with my audience, and a lot of people like that, but there's a lot of people who they find it a little frustrating because sometimes the information that we cover isn't always linear. Does that make sense? If you caught that, if you get that, go ahead and type that in the chat for me so I can see. Okay, cool. So the other thing is that we have those of you who are first timers, you're actually quite lucky because we have a huge amount of people on the webinar today who are not first timers, who've actually taken our courses, taken these materials out into the field and used them, and have proven it to themselves, which is why they're back. So even though I'm going to be teaching you a lot about the things that they already know, and I'm going to tell you, I mean, obviously, I'm an instructor, so I believe that everything I'm teaching you works. And if I tell you it works, obviously I'm biased because I'm the presenter, right? But these people on the webinar with you, your compatriots, aren't. They've taken the stuff out, they've field tested it, they've used it. And because they've done that, because they've field tested it, because they've used it, they can give you feedback, and they can give you feedback in real time while I'm constrained to following the outline of today's webinar, which, by the way, is going to be rather fluid. So let me just get a couple other administrative things out. I'll jump into the primary focus of today, which is my basic presentation. But today's webinar is going to follow a specific format. I'm going to take you as far as I can in the time I have. I'm going to give you as much information as I can, okay? And then I'm going to point you in the direction of where to go for more. Is that a fair trade? First of all, just type in the chat room if you think that's fair trade and you're okay with that. Cool. That being said, obviously, I do have an offer available for you at the end of this webinar, and you're going to want to stay on till the end of the webinar. Because here's how we do things here at NLP Power. We do it a little bit differently than the traditional webinar format. First thing that's going to happen is I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, so you guys have a little bit of understanding of where I come from, what my background is. Then I'm going to talk to you about a little bit about an overview of what we're going to cover. Then I'm going to ask you some very specific questions that are directly relevant to the content I'm going to teach you in this webinar. And then based on what you tell me and what the answers you give me to those questions are, I'm going to customize the content of this webinar so that it more perfectly fits what you're asking about. Chances are the things I have already selected to share with you will be directly related to the questions because we've been doing this a long time. Okay, I'm going to teach for 45 minutes to almost an hour, at which point I'm going to segue. I'm going to share with you the training package we put together for you. I'm going to go through that as thoroughly as I can, and then when that is over with, I'm going to come back and I'm going to continue to teach. So for those of you who've blocked out 90 minutes for this training, you will have a good chunk of stuff that you can take away, as well as an understanding of what we're offering you to take your training further within 90 minutes. For those of you who want to go deep into more content, then I will continue to teach until I've covered the material that you guys have asked about, or we've hit that 3 or 4 hour mark and people are just kind of dropping off. But again, our job here is to give you something today that you can use, to give you something that, sorry, I got distracted by a message, to give you something that you don't have to believe anything I'm about to share with you on this webinar. All you have to do is take the pieces that I give you, go out into the field and use it and prove this material to yourself, okay? The things I'm going to share with you will not seem like they're as powerful as I describe. Believe me or not when I tell you that they are. Ask the people who've done them in the webinar. I'm telling them if what I'm sharing with you is factual in terms of their experience. So a couple of things. My name is David Snyder. This is a webinar that focuses on human influence, the ability to win a job interview, to close a sale, to make people like, love, and trust you in sometimes as little as 20 minutes, how to win an argument when you need to. And they're all going to start from the same foundation. But a few things you should know about moi as a presenter. First and foremost, I like to have fun. Okay? And that's the first big secret when we start talking about human influence. Human beings have a natural filter, a natural defense system set up against unwanted influence, against unwanted persuasion. The way that you get around those filters is through joy, through fun, through pleasure. Okay? There's 2 ways that you can persuade people on an emotional level, and everything that we're going to talk about today is a combination of neuroscience and emotional influence. Human beings do not make decisions based on facts, although they love to believe that they do. Okay? They love to believe that when you present them a list of facts and figures that they're going to look at that and that's going to tell them what's right and what works. That's not how it works. They look at those facts and figures, they compare it to an internal checklist of what's important in their world on an emotional level. They have a feeling about it, and then they make the decision based on that feeling. So everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. So I want you to be as playful and fun-loving and easygoing and have a just let's see what happens energy as humanly possible. Camille says, hi, David. I've become Austin Powers for this week to see people's reactions. My mom hates me now. Yeah, baby, yeah. Okay, a couple other things. First of all, if politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, this is probably not the best use of your next 90 minutes to 3 or 4 hours. Okay, my intention is never to alienate people or to offend people, but I do have a tendency to provoke a lot of human beings, which therapeutically speaking is a very good thing. We'll talk about therapeutic applications of this stuff a little further down the line, if that's something you want to do. Okay. In any case, a couple of things. This means yes. This means no. There will be a test later. This means I know the answer. This means I don't. This means, oh shit, I hope he doesn't call on me next. Now, if this were a Zoom room, I would actually be looking at you guys in Brady Bunch mode. And thank you, Johnny. I'm sorry your first thing didn't go through. I know I can't see you, Seth, but I'm imagining that I can. That's one of the reasons that I can relate to all of you so powerfully. In our Secrets of Human Influence program, our CPI system, and our Killer Influence program, one of the things that we teach people to do is to connect with people remotely on a kinesthetic, vibrational, and neurological level, and leverage that connection to prime people to respond to you in a very deep and powerful way. We won't be covering that directly on this webinar, but everything that you're going to be teaching, we're going to be learning in this webinar, presupposes that that's going on. Even without it, though, the technologies I'm going to share with you are going to be amazingly powerful for you if, and only if, you wrap the bright attitude around it and you go out into the world and see what happens when you use it. Okay? That being said, my commitment, once again, is once I figure out from your interactions and talking to me what is most important to you in terms of the content of this webinar, I'm going to take you as far as I can in the time that we have. and I'm going to show you where to go for more, if that's okay with you. And is that okay? Please verify and validate my ego by typing yes in the chat room if that's okay. Somebody said, I want to take a look at your bookshelf. Well, to be honest, guys, this is not my only bookshelf. If you were actually in the room with me, you would be surrounded by bookshelves. Okay? And that's still only maybe 75% of the information that I pull from when I create these courses. And I have to be honest, the information that I'm sharing with you, I did not create it for you. I created the information I'm sharing with you for me many, many years ago to solve the problems I had in my life. And I've been using them consistently since I developed them and put them together to create the life of my dreams. And as I went through my journey, with this journey we call life, I discovered that many of the people on this webinar, in fact, have a lot of the same goals and desires and dreams and aspirations that I have and I had. And a lot of them I've accomplished. And of course, the more of the things in life that you get, the more you can see where you want to go next. So that being said, are you guys ready to play? Type in the chat room if you're ready to play. And I will be hopping back and forth between David, face mode and PowerPoint mode. I'm not someone who really likes a lot of PowerPoint work. I find it fucking boring, to be honest. But sometimes it's easier to see things. I'll also be jumping off during the webinar and actually typing things out in my OneNote so you can see them live as we're doing it. So I try to be as interactive as possible, even within a webinar format like this. And just one more thing in terms of the material that we're going to be covering. Everything I teach you, whether it's just echo technique, whether it's any of the reframe patterns or the sleight of mouth patterns that we do, whether it's 3 magic questions or criterion values, emotional bonding processes, for every technique that you get from me, if you really want to own it, you must read it, you must write it, and you must speak it. If you really want to get the hypnotic powers through your filters of your system and into your neurology, you must bring it in through as many modalities as possible. One of the problems that people have when they're trying to learn things like hypnotic language patterns is the pattern they're trying to learn is actually, by its very nature, overwhelms their auditory system and creates spontaneous amnesia when you use it. So if you just listen to it, by the time you listen to it, you've forgotten it. It makes it very, very difficult to learn it. But if you want to learn hypnotic language powerfully, either in CPI or Killer Influence or in the Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion program we're talking about today, the home study course, then you've got to read it, you've got to look at it, you've got to write it, and you've got to speak it. That's the magic. Okay, if you try to, you're going to be struggling for years to get something as simple as an awareness adverb, an awareness presupposition, or an adverb adjective. It's just not going to stick for you. Carol, 3 Magic Questions is a conversational framework that we'll discuss later. It's part of the CPI and Killer Influence Human Influence. It's a very intrinsic part, but it's a small part of the entire system. And that's the other thing. If the scope of everything we could talk about is this, we have time for this. Even if I extend the webinar, this is all we got. So once again, you don't have to answer this one again, but and I'm going to show you where to go for more if that's okay. Okay. So that being said, I'm going to jump to PowerPoint mode, and I will try to not be there as long as as much as I can. But at the end of the day, it's really whatever helps you learn better is what I'm willing to do. So, are you ready? Let's rock. Okay. So, application window, and boom. Okay. So, first and foremost, who the hell is Dr. David Snyder, and why should I care? Right? Are you guys seeing this okay? Because I'm not. Hold on a second, guys. Hold on a second. I'm getting a message. All right. For some reason, my screen is not sharing. All right, well, if that's the case, then you get to look at my lovely face while I talk to you. So who is Dr. David Snyder, and why should I care? First and foremost, hold on a second. For some reason, we're not, okay. I have a doctorate in Oriental Medicine from Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. I've been a practicing acupuncturist and diplomat of Oriental Medicine since 2005. I have a practice here in Solana Beach where we specialize in treating physiological illness that has as its roots repressed emotion. So while many people are, in terms of their hypnotherapy, I'm also a certified hypnotist, a master hypnotist. I'm a licensed NLP trainer. And I'm this year, and I'll go through that in a minute, but our specialty clinically is dealing with physiological illness that has as its roots repressed emotion. So while many neurolinguistic programmers and hypnotherapists focus on dealing with issues like behavioral issues, mostly with weight loss, smoke cessation, nail biting, things like that, we spend a lot of time dealing with the heavy duty stuff, the stuff that is directly a result of repressed emotion. And so like cancers, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, scoliosis, herpes outbreaks, things that people wouldn't think of as being largely emotional. And yet the science is showing us, and real studies, old studies have shown us that 8 out of 10 things that a person goes to a doctor's office for are actually emotionally based. Okay. So I've been recognized as one of the world's leading authorities and experts on specialized human influence technologies. I've personally trained members of the legal profession, law enforcement, entertainment, and martial arts technologies for peak performance and persuasion. I've been working nonstop since my early days in acupuncture and Oriental medicine to bring up the skills of people in the in the hypnosis profession. And this would be much easier for me if I actually was showing you my PowerPoint instead of having to look at you. But that's okay. That's unusual that I'm actually bitching that I don't have a PowerPoint. This year, 2020, I was named the #1 NLP trainer in the world by globalgurus.org. And my course, Killer Influence, which you'll hear me referencing today, was actually named the #1 NLP training course by my peers in the world, also through globalgurus.org. I have, in terms of other things, I have, thank you, Julie. Julie voted for me. I have a 10th degree black belt in the martial arts, specifically Ryukyu Kempo. I also have a 4th degree black belt in an art called Shaolin Kun Tao, which is kind of a hybrid art. A 2nd degree black belt in Kosho Kempo, and a 1st degree black belt in Fankuru Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a certified instructor in Combat Sistema, Cinco Mano Eskrima, Modern Arnis. Things that aren't necessarily listed on my curriculum vitae for this webinar, but things that are directly relevant to what we're going to be talking about. I've been a Reiki master since 97, since 95 actually, since before Reiki was cool. I've been studying Kabbalah and various forms of metaphysics since before Madonna started studying Kabbalah, so I'm very much a prima donna. I'm a certified pranic healer and pranic psychotherapist. I'm certified in the Bengston Energy Healing System. I'm certified in the DNA Theta Healing Systems. I've been studying many forms of medical Qigong. In fact, I'm doing a very intensive course right now in medical Qigong. So basically, I have more energy healing credentials than McDonald's sells hamburgers. And so when people look at all the things that I do and what's important on my curricula vitae, people ask, well, what the hell does that have to do with human influence? And the short answer is everything. And I say everything because if you look at all of these disciplines that I've mentioned, that I've talked to you about, martial arts and energy work and NLP and hypnosis, and if you look at them from the bird's eye view, what you see is that they all have patterns in common, and the idea of being able to recognize patterns of influence, patterns of behavior, patterns of movement, patterns of thought. And when you start to take a hermetic view, which is something I've been a student of for a very, very long time, and you go even to a higher meta level in terms of that, you see that many of these patterns, even though they have different contexts have the same structure and a connection to them. So most of my life has been spent unpacking and looking at these patterns of structure, of thought, of speech, of behavior, and finding ways to systematize them and use them in a way that allows us to predict human behavior, to analyze it, and to know what buttons to press at the right time to get the responses from the people and the situations that we want them to get. And I've taken those processes, and over the years, I've distilled them down into a system that works for me. That has, for me, has proven to be very user-friendly. I've shifted through a lot of crap, a lot of weird stuff to find those radioactive gold nuggets. And what I found when I collected enough of those nuggets was that they were kind of more like, they weren't really nuggets in the sense of like you pick up a piece of rock on the ground. They were more like Legos. And those Legos, those super powerful pieces from all these different systems, they would fit together. They fit together like Legos do, and you could put them together in any configuration that you wanted. And so I've devoted and dedicated my life to taking these Legos, for lack of a better word, and building things out of them, things that are useful, things that get people more of what they want. And so that's where we're going today. So this class is for you if you want to know exactly how to influence human behavior, if you want to learn how to become more attractive to other people, to cause people to like and trust you, to make people believe what you say and do what you want. If you would like to banish fear and insecurity from your life, believe it or not, this is a good place for you to be. If you'd like to make more money from your job, book more clients for your business, get that raise or promotion that you know you deserve, but maybe somebody's just not seeing the you that you want them to see, this is a good place for you to be. If, like many of my students, you want to protect yourself from manipulators and handle difficult people easily, this is probably a good place for you to spend some time, okay? Again, job interviews, one of the things that I tell my students, and a lot of them call bullshit on me until they actually go out and do it, is that a lot of the people who studied the materials on this webinar and then went out and used it actually wound up getting hired for jobs that they weren't qualified for. Even when they were going up against very, very highly skilled and well-resourced candidates. So this is some powerful stuff. If you're a mother or a father, or you have a difficult spouse, if you'd like to inspire your employees to do what you want when you want them to do it, this is probably a good use of your time if you take the material and go out and use it. Okay. So again, and you don't have to have any previous knowledge of how this stuff works for it to work for you. One of the cool things about human influence is that in the realm of persuasion and influence, even a little bit of information will go a long, long way if you apply it properly. Now, that being said, I have to caution you a little bit, because the things I'm going to share with you in this webinar are ridiculously simple, but they're also ridiculously powerful. And because they're truly powerful, they do have the potential to be misused. So I'm going to share these things with you in the spirit of giving good stuff to good people who are going to go out and do good things with it. Right? And if you wrap your mind around that philosophy, then you'll never have to worry about being caught. You'll never have to worry about doing something unethical or sleazy or slimy. You'll never have to be looking over your shoulder to see who's coming after you because they felt like you screwed them. Are those useful things to have? Yes or yes? Cool. All right. These are all things that are powerful. Those of you who've been through some of these and learned some of these materials, type in your experiences in the chat so people can kind of see where this stuff starts. Okay. Okay. So again, my personal promise to you, if you stay to the end, is first of all, I'm gonna at some point I'm just gonna jump off. I'm gonna run through the offer that I'm sharing with you, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to continue teaching. So if you stay to the end, you're going to learn the most powerful and direct way to make people like, love, and trust you. You're going to learn how to have people hanging on your every word, how to win any argument or job interview by learning how to emotionally bond human beings to the things you offer, to make them seriously want to do the things that you want them to do, because doing what you want is actually in their best interest from their perspective. We're going to teach you how to go from interesting information, which is what most people do when they come onto a webinar. They're just looking for the information, to a master of unstoppable persuasion. So that's my goal for you today. So my question for you now is, in the chat room, so I can see it, what do you want to learn today? What do you want to learn? I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to look at what you're typing in the chat room, and then so let me see here. So we've got echo language, raising self-concept, be trusted, how to close a sale, how to learn how to better serve others, how to put this all together, state control, matching predicates, increased energy, conversational copywriting, state control, putting it all together, Bankston, be a better coach, healer. Okay. Live better with the narcissistic whatsoever. Okay, so some of these things are going by pretty quick, but I'm starting to see a theme. Be a good trainer. This is at the right time. Okay, so here's the first thing. Whatever it was that you typed in the chat room, this is the first piece, okay? Whatever it was that you typed in the chat room, I want you to write that in front. By the way, I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're taking notes because, believe it or not, you're actually going to have to do some work in this webinar if you want to own it, okay? Write down what you wrote, what you typed in the chat, and under that, I want you to type what's important about whatever it was you wrote in the chat. To you personally, I'm not going to look at it, but I want you to answer that question and write that out. Write out, based on what you typed in the chat room, what's important to you about that. Okay? This is your first piece. Okay? Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Okay? But we have to drill down from their surface language, the words coming out of their mouth, which are important, we'll talk about that, to what's below the surface. Okay? This is part of what we call your emotional bonding checklist. So again, I'm not going to ask what's important. When you answer the question, what's important about, I don't need to know that, but you do. Okay? Once you've written your answer, just type in the chat room, done, and I'll ask you the next question. Cool. Now, under your answer to the first question, ask yourself again, what's important about the answer you gave to the first question? Right? Just write it out. Okay? Now, you may notice something interesting happen when you start to write it out. There might be a part of you that says that's not quite right. You might find yourself editing a little bit. That's okay too. But trust your first response. Food, sex, survival, friends, power. Okay. You don't need to type it in the chat. This is for you. Okay? Unless you want everybody on the planet to know what your hot buttons are, leave after the first time I ask you this, leave that stuff private. Okay? And then write down this question. Ultimately, if you were to get the answer to your first question, and then you got the answer to your second question, ultimately, what would that allow you to do, and what's important about that? Write that out for me. When you've got that, write it and type done in the chat. Done. Okay. So as I begin to go through this process with you, I want you to simply automatically relate everything I'm teaching you to getting those desires. Understand that everything I'm going to share with you on this webinar will allow you to experience ever-increasing levels of those things that you've written down. So as you link the things that are most important to you to the techniques within this webinar, you'll feel good about going out into the world with a fun, playful attitude and watching it happen. Is that okay? Is that okay? I'm zoned out. All right, very cool. So let's go ahead and go back to, I'm hitting the wrong buttons on my PowerPoint. All right, so let me see if I can, let me go back to, I'm going to try something weird here. All right, so you guys still see me, right? You guys still see me? Yes? Let me see if I can share my screen now, because I really want to share my screen. Still not sharing? Well, since for some reason my screen isn't sharing, I'm just going to write. I want you to take your piece of paper out. I want you to number it 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What I'm going to share with you is the skeleton of the CPI killer influence system. This is called the Universal Persuasion Protocol. Okay, and the way this works, next to heading 0, I want you to write know your outcome. KNO, your outcome. Before you enter any form of human influence situation, whether it's a dating context, a sales context, a negotiation, mediation context. Okay. So you're seeing my screen? Are you seeing my screen or my face? Because my version of the webinar is showing me me. All right, that's fine. As long as you can write this stuff down, you're fine. Okay? The Universal Persuasion Protocol is a formula that you follow. Going back to the first heading, 0, know your outcome. Before you enter any form of human interaction, you've got to know what you want, and specifically the benchmarks by which you know you're getting it. Okay? Now, NLP has some very comprehensive and sometimes complicated protocols for defining an outcome. You don't need to go that far. You just need to know what you want and the benchmarks that let you know you're getting it. What are you going to see? What are you going to hear? What are you going to smell? What are you going to taste? That's good enough. And the reason for that is that if you've ever had a conversation with another human being, especially in their natural habitat, you may have realized that people segue. People change the topic of conversation. People come from out of nowhere and ask questions that have nothing to do with what you're talking about. And because of that, persuasion and the art of human influence, the art of human communication is like a stormy sea, where it's, the wind's blowing you this way, the current's putting you that way, the waves are knocking you in a different direction. But if you have that outcome, if you know what it is you want to achieve, and you can see that outcome, no matter where that ocean or those winds take you, you can course correct and find your way back to where you're going. One of my mentors used to say, people who go into an interaction without an outcome usually wind up with something else other than what they wanted. Okay, so sometimes your outcome is simply to make a friend. Sometimes it's to create a romantic partner. Sometimes it's to create a business. You got to know what you want and how you're getting it. The first part of that, this is next to number 1 on your sheet, is control your state. Control your state. If you cannot control your state, it will be controlled for you. If you can't control your state, you're at the mercy of any influence that the other people exert on you. Okay? The way we define state control in the killer influence and CPI systems is the ability to enter or exit any psycho-emotional state at will on demand. Okay? Once you can do that, the next part you want to do, once you've got your state controlled, is you've got to get rapport, kinesthetic, neurological entrainment with the meat in front of you. Because when you get the meat, you get the mind. Okay? Now, rapport is a little bit different in our system than it is taught in NLP, or it's taught in most of your sales and marketing systems. Our rapport is biological, and it's based on the laws of physics. So some good places to check out the science behind what we do and how we do it. Like I said, we don't have time to cover it today. For those of you who are familiar with the CPI or killer influence systems, you've been thoroughly drilled in those modules and know how to do that. For those of you who don't, the next opportunity you have to jump into that training, go ahead and do that. Now, we don't teach those particular skills, the state control and the bridging drills that we're talking about, to the general public. Those are kind of our secret sauce that we kind of keep behind the windows. But those of you who've been through the trainings, who are in the chat, go ahead and share your experiences with them and let them know how powerful it is. But you're going to control your state. You're going to get rapport. Rapport is number 2. Okay, so 0 is know your outcome. 1 is control your state. 2 is get rapport. 3 is use your language. Now, when I talk about using your language, what I mean is you use whatever specific language techniques that you have. If you're a certified neurolinguistic programmer and you have, the whole Milton model set of language patterns to pull from, use that. If you're a skilled debater and or an attorney who's familiar with rhetoric and you have those skills, those are the skills that you use. If all you have is the echo technique, which you're going to overlearn in today's webinar, that's what you use. And by the way, for those of you who aren't familiar with echo technique, the echo technique is the single most powerful linguistic tactic on the planet. Because when you use it, it's literally the back door to a person's nervous system. And it's like a bump key to their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, their desires. It's crazy how much these the echo technique process and the process of using the echo technique does for you. Okay, so again, what I'm giving you is a formula that you follow in the order you need to apply them. So the first thing you're going to apply is know your outcome. The second thing is going to be control your state. Third is going to be getting rapport, using your language pattern, manage their state, jump into their process, link to their criteria and values. Well, if you've numbered your sheet the way I told you, I said 0 through 6. If you've numbered it that way and you've been following me along, then rapport is number 2. You following me, Camille or Ed? Right? Can I rewind? So first and foremost, if you just take know your outcome as stepping by itself, if I could show you my diagram, this would actually be easier. Let me see if I can do that really quick without screwing too many things up. Hold on a second. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and okay. Can you see it now? I don't see it on my. No, we're not going to do this through Zoom, Brian. I can't jump halfway through a webinar and do that. If we were doing this right at the beginning, that would be different, but that's all right. It must have something to do with the amount of people on, because we pressure tested this thing left and right all day today. Anyway, so know your outcome, control your state, get rapport, use your language, manage the state of the subject. Managing the state of the subject is different than controlling your own state. The only person you will ever have complete control over is you. But with the tools that you're learning, you have a lot of power to manage the emotional and cognitive states of the people you're interacting with. So you're going to use your state control, your rapport, and your language to manage the state of the subject being the client, the juror, the judge, the interviewer, whoever it is. You use those 3 elements: controlling your state, getting rapport, using your language. Okay, you follow it in that order. Okay, it's a recipe. You use the ingredients that you have in the order I give them to you. Once you have the state control down, you've gotten rapport, you're using your language, you're managing the state of the person you're interacting with, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to jump into their process. Now, when human beings make decisions, they do it on multiple levels simultaneously. One is the emotional impact or the emotional checklist that they have. Okay. Another part of that process pattern that they use is a structure, a sequence of parts of their brain that light up kind of like a firing sequence or a combination lock. And when you stimulate the parts of their brain in that sequence, they take similar behaviors. Okay? The nice thing about the training you're going to get today is that one simple technique will allow you to do 5 out of the 6 things that I'm teaching you. Once you jump into that process and you fit your message to their process, doing what you want them to do is almost a default behavior for them. But you're going to take all that and you're going to emotionally bond them to what is emotionally driving them to grab the product, service, or you, in this case, that they want. You're going to emotionally bond them to what you want. So if we were to actually give you the universal persuasion protocol, first thing after you know your outcome is you're going to control your state, you're going to get rapport, you're going to use your language, you're going to manage their state, and you're going to jump into their process, and you're going to emotionally bond or link to their criteria and values. Did everybody write that down? I just gave you a massive nugget. The reason we call this the Universal Persuasion Protocol is because it allows you to deliver the maximum amount of influence in any context where you can speak. Sometimes when you can't, but mostly we're talking about spoken context. Well, it doesn't matter if you're in front of an auditorium of 1,000 people, if you're in a one-on-one situation with a prospective client, whether you're in the bar room, the courtroom, the bedroom, the treatment room, the classroom, this process will automatically cause people to become hyper-responsive and, as a byproduct of this, compliant to what you want them to do. You'll be able to deliver very, very powerful direct and indirect suggestions that cause people to become emotionally bonded to what you're presenting. Okay? And the best part is it'll happen in such a way that they feel tremendously good. They feel like you truly know them and understand their needs, and you will, probably better than anybody they've ever talked to. And it will forge a connection with them that they will move heaven and earth to keep. Okay? But again, it's just as easy for con men to use this protocol as it is good Samaritans or therapists and healers. And that's why where you come from with this information is vitally important. If for no other reason than learning how to protect yourself against people who are using it unethically or inappropriately. Okay? Hold on a second. Okay. So are we clear about the Universal Persuasion Protocol? No, Brian, the way I teach it, it's you'll never have to rely on anything that's you'll never have to lie, cheat, steal, or be unethical in any way. And that's the beauty of what we're going to be sharing with you, because neurologically speaking, this is the most desirable form of communication that a human being can experience. Paul's asking me to please restate. Paul, can you re-ask your question so I can restate it for you? Gamora is asking, my fiance have created the connection naturally. It's amazing and it's true. Yes. Cool. I left off at 4. I said manage their state, jump into their process, link to their criteria and values. Okay, it's a 6-stage process. Starts with, it presupposes you know what you want to achieve. You're going to control your state. You're going to get rapport. You're going to use your language. You're going to manage their state. You're going to jump into their process. You're going to link to their criteria and values. Okay? Again, like I said before, we don't have time to cover every single one of these individually today. If you come to a live event or get one of our home study programs, you'll be able to get a deep dive, and you'll work with me personally to get this stuff in you. But we're going to give you some solid gold radioactive nuggets today. But this is the whole system in terms of the linguistic component. Now, CPI and killer influence both start here, and then they go in very different directions. Okay? Are we cool? Is this good so far? Are you learning anything? Excellent. Excellent. Very good. All right. So now, going back to the questions I asked you before. What do you want to get from today's training? What's important about that? If you got that, what would be important to you about that? If you got that, what would be important about that? What I just did with you is step number 6. It's the emotional bonding process. And it was that simple. And that's all you have to do when you want to begin to emotionally bond people to your product or service. Now, how many of you noticed, and again, we have interesting our webinar today. How many of you noticed when you were writing down and drilling down on the what's important part, as you were writing it, how many of you started to feel emotional? Type in the chat room, yes or no. Or a hunger, in some cases, for those things. Type it in the chat. Are we having a lag? Okay. Okay. This is where it becomes really, really important. Okay. This process will work in any context. The only thing you have to do once you know that information is keep them bonded to your only. First of all, let's take a business interaction. Let's talk about that. Horny. Willie's getting horny. Thanks for sharing, Willie. Okay. How many? Did all of you do the exercise? Did all of you do the exercise? Did you write down what you wanted from this webinar? What's important about that? If you were to get that, what's important about that? And ultimately, if you got those two things, what would that do for you? What's important about that? If you did that, what you just learned is everything you need to know to emotionally, to elicit the emotional drivers behind anyone's behavior. The magic question, and I'm going to type this in your chat, is what is important about? And whatever it is they're coming to you for. If they're coming to you to buy a new house, you want to ask them, what's important to you about the perfect house? If they're coming to you for insurance, you're going to ask them, well, let me ask you, just so I understand you better, what's important about the right insurance policy for you? What's that going to do for you? And what's important about that? When you ask that question, how can you integrate this into your music? Brian, it's going to take a little bit of linguistic wizardry to work it into music. Okay, but it can be done because I do it when I'm doing public speaking, talking to large groups. Okay. Again, Brian, I can't cover it on this webinar. We go off into a rabbit hole that most people wouldn't recover from. But you have to. I'll give you a real quick idea. You have to speak in very global terms. Okay. You have to say, there's something you've always wanted inside of you, and as you think about that with me, you'll realize the good thing we have, right? It's as simple in terms of that. Okay. Oh, you want to come to a live event, Michael? I'll show you exactly how to apply this to martial arts training. Okay, and this particular component, the in terms of martial arts, goes to desire. Getting somebody fired up and wanting to do something. Okay. Remember, there's many different layers to a person's decision-making process, and this is the one that drives everything. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Okay. My typing didn't come through. Really? All right, well, let me type it again. Hold on a second. What? Oh, Doofus David didn't click the send button. My bad. Sorry, guys. Not your perfect webinar spokesman, right? Okay, good. See, I'm not technically savvy, as you might say. So is this useful so far? Has this been something that you think you can take out into the field and use? Cool. All right. So let me ask you a question. Are you excited about what you've learned so far? Cool. Excellent. Would you like to take it further? Again, Brian, in terms of, again, the global terms process requires you to have a little bit more knowledge of language tactics and language techniques than we were going to cover in this class. But again, it's all about asking questions. Now, one of the things that happens when you engage in this emotional bonding process, and we've covered the biggest piece of it, which is the elicitation of the information. But when you do that, you generate a relationship between you and the other person. Okay? So it's 4:54 now. What I'd like to do is I'm going to teach this for about another 6 minutes. And then if it's okay with you, I'm going to jump into the program that we're offering as part of this webinar. It's a one-time only offer. And then I'm going to go through that as thoroughly as I can and as quickly as I can in the time that we have. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to cover echo technique and how to kind of put these things together. And then I'm going to directly answer any other questions that you have that I can answer in the time that we have. Is that fair? Okay. All right. So getting back to this universal persuasion protocol: control your state, get rapport, use your language, manage their state, jump into their process, link to their criteria and values. When we talk about criteria and values, we're talking about beliefs a person has about what's right and desirable in the world. The 3-question process I just led you through is exactly how you tap into those beliefs. Now, sometimes when you ask what's important about XYZ, they may give you an answer that seems a little bit vague, or in terms of how you know when you're getting it. And that's the secondary question. Whenever somebody gives you an answer that seems a little too vague, you want to ask the next question is, what's important about? Hold on a second. What is, not what is important about. That was the first one. How do you know? So if someone says, you say, what's important about the perfect house? How do you know when you've got the perfect house? You might say, well, how do you know? How do you know when you've got the perfect house? Well, I know it's perfect if it's got a big kitchen and 3 bathrooms and it's near a good school and it's got a huge backyard. Now, what they've just given you in that moment, this is where it's important for those of you who are business oriented. Actually, it's any of you, but this is the piece that a lot of people, when they take traditional NLP training, they learn about criteria and values, but they don't learn it practically and they don't learn the other side of it. And that is the how do you know question. You see, human beings, when they're putting together their values, which most people aren't even conscious of their values, there's a checklist that generates a body feeling, and they give that body feeling the name. When you ask what's important about X, whatever that situation is, they're going to give you the name of the feeling. Does that make sense? They're going to give you the name of the feeling. And sometimes, as a byproduct of that, they'll also give you the checklist. Leslie's calling it evidence procedure. But many times they won't. And so, if you ask somebody what's important about the right kind of food, they say that I get a lot of fruit. Well, fruit means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. That person, in their mind, when they say the word fruit, they may be thinking in their head an orange. But if you hand them an apple, they're like, I don't want that. Did you ever give something to somebody that you thought was exactly what they wanted and you found out they were talking about something completely different? That's what this second question avoids and tells you exactly what to talk about. So this is really important for those of you who do any kind of selling. The act of asking what's important about is going to generate the name of the feeling they get. when they have what's on the checklist. The how do you know question gives you the checklist. Does that make sense? It gives you the checklist. Right? Michael says, my wife gave me a hard time because of it. This is where a lot of miscommunications in couples and anyone start, is because people think they're talking about the same thing. One of the more common teaching examples that I use is a man and a woman are talking, and you ask that person, you ask person A, whether it's male or female, it doesn't really matter. You ask person A, what's important to you about what's important to you about a relationship? What do you absolutely have to have in the right relationship for you that is like not negotiable? And person A says, well, respect. I got to have respect. And this person here says, well, how do you know? How do you know when you're being respected? Person A says, well, I know you respect me when you tell me the truth. Doesn't matter whether you hurt, you don't mince words. You tell me the truth because I need to hear it, regardless of whether you know it's going to hurt my feelings. You tell me the truth. Right? Now, person B, what's important to you in a relationship? Person B says, respect. Person A says, well, how do you know? How do you know when you're getting respect? Person B says, I know that you respect me when you tell me the truth and you do it in a way that takes my feelings into account. You do it in a way that doesn't hurt my feelings. Okay? Now, what do you think happens when these two people get in a disagreement? What do you think happens? Type it in the chat. Yeah, and each person is saying, you don't respect me. They're using that word respect back and forth. But underneath the surface, they're feeling disrespected because that respect is being served to them in a way they can't recognize, in a way that actually causes them to feel disrespected. This is why the how do you know question is so, so important in any context where there's any kind of vagary. So you can frame it as simple as, well, respect means a lot of things to a lot of different people. So just so I understand you better, I'm curious, how do you know when you're getting the respect that you need, right? And they're going to give you a checklist, a list of elements that you have to do or say or be or behave or give them that generates that feeling that they consider respect. This is going to be true, guys and gals. This is going to be true in everything. Human beings have checklists and labels for everything they do. Everything. You have them. Your friends have them. The people you hate have them. There's only two questions, Brian. What's important about X, and how do you know? Right? Now, putting the lid on this piece before we jump to today's offer, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to teach you echo technique, and I'm actually going to teach you another aspect that we're going to talk about called sleight of mouth a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I just lost my train of thought. What's important about everybody has it, okay? So when we're talking about a business context, okay, the moment you've got their criteria and values, in other words, the labels, the names that they use for the things that are most important to them, you want to use those words as much as you can and link them to your product or service, okay? Once you understand their personal words, you no longer use your own words. You use theirs. And every time that you use their words, that little feeling you had when you were reading your list to yourself or writing it out, they're going to feel it. In fact, you can't hear say the words you wrote down to yourself and notice what happens to your body every time you read them out loud to yourself. Just take a minute, read those out loud to yourself, and notice what happens to the feelings in your body. What do you notice? Type in the chat what you noticed. Really is more horny. Happy, right? Now, here's the magic of this. Happiness. tingly, excitement. They get stronger. Now, here's the best part. Who are the people looking at when you're saying those words to them? They're looking at time, right? I don't know why I'm gone. It must be, just refresh, Deb, because everything seems to be working fine, because I have several monitors running the webinar, it seems to be here. They're looking at you when those good feelings come up. So what automatically happens is you link those positive feelings to the person you're looking at. That's looking at you or you're looking at. Automatically, you get put into the category of this is good. This is what I want. This gets me happiness, right? That's what you're doing. That's what makes it so powerful, because everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Does that make sense? Our Zero, I guess, asked, what programs of yours would you recommend in regards to those global terms from earlier? The optimal, for those of you who are looking to do presentations to large groups, and there is a way to, hold on a second, let me go back to speaker mode. There is a way to tap into the criteria and values of large groups. The optimal training funnel for that was to start with CPI level 1, killer influence, and then graduate up to CPI level 4. CPI level 4 is hypnotic presentation skills. It's the ability to deliver the CPI model to a large group of people at one time and actually link to their criteria and values, to tell very powerful and compelling stories, to have very good stagecraft and command presence in front of a large audience. Not everybody needs that level of skill set. I do, because of what I do for a living. But most people can get away with CPI 1 or killer influence. But for those who are influence professionals, and we're all influence professionals to some degree, it's just a question of, you know, how far down that rabbit hole do we want to go, right? You said in the chat that you would not convert to Zoom in the middle. Yeah, I didn't have a choice in this one. You know, like I said, never tell never tell God your plans. He'll laugh at you, right? But for those of you who are interested in how to do this with groups, how to do the whole global criteria and values thing, CPI level 4 is where you would do that. So let me see if there are any other questions real quick before I jump back into what I was talking about. Yeah, the universe will take the top stuff. All right, so there's about 30 of us who made it, and I appreciate that. So let me go ahead and share my screen and go back to here we go. Can you see my screen now? All right, we're talking about the Secrets of Human Influence program. Can you see my screen now? Cool. All right. So here's what you get. We're going to give you, for today only, this is a one-time offer. We're going to give you the Secrets of Human Influence home study course. This is a 17-video training system. It gives you the 7-stage universal persuasion protocol module by module. So, you know, we gave you the criteria and values process. We took you we gave you a fairly good treatment of it, but there's a lot more nuances and things like that that you can use to build this into presentations and stuff like that. So, but you're also going to learn how to think like a master influencer, and that by itself is worth a value of $297. You're going to learn how to control your psycho-emotional states. That's the state control module that we talked about. You're going to learn how to use power rapport skills, how to neurologically entrain with another human being in a testable way that primes them to think and feel the way you want them to think and feel before you ever open your mouth. That's what's so powerful, and why we don't share the state control modules outside of our mastermind or outside of our live events, is because once you have that ability, the ability to generate your own psycho-emotional state and then bridge it to another human being, you gain a ridiculous level of influence in creating hyper-responsive subjects and targets. And we do it in a very tested way, and it's as reliable as the laws of physics. It's not based on any belief systems. It's based on the laws of physics and entrainment, and we show you how that manifests in the human organism and teach you in a way that's powerful and repeatable. But we don't teach that outside of our live events or our home study courses. Okay? $297 value. We're going to teach you the most irresistible hypnotic language patterns on the planet. In fact, when I'm done presenting this offer to you, we're going to circle back. We're going to start with the actual data of our course today, and we're going to teach you some of them. We can't teach you all of them, but we'll teach you one or two of them, and we're going to teach you a few core pieces from each of the training packages that we're going to talk about. So we're going to teach you how to manage the emotional states of others. What to do once you've gotten your state control, once you've gotten your rapport, once you've gotten your language. How do you open up in the mind of your listener a window into their thoughts, their feelings, their beliefs, their memories, and manage those to create inside of your subject the most optimal receptivity to what you're presenting. We're going to teach you how to literally hijack someone's own internal behavior code, to jump into their process and present to them in a way that they feel what you're giving them is exactly the most right and natural thing for them. It's tremendously liberating once you can get out of your own head and start looking at people through the eyes of process and structure, how predictable their behavior becomes and how manageable it becomes, because you stop imposing your own map of how the world's supposed to work on them and wondering why they're doing it wrong. It makes life a lot easier for you. Okay, we're going to teach you we're going to give you the Forbidden Secrets of Human Influence Master Text. This is our tried and true, proven killer influence manual, and it has modules on state control. It has modules on social hypnotic operators. These are socially programmed triggers that people have, that society programs into you, that when you give them it's like a Pavlovian response. You do this one thing, people start to respond automatically because society has programmed to. We call it social hypnosis. We're going to talk about proxemic hypnotic operators. These are spatial nonverbal triggers, like where you stand in relation to another human being can dramatically influence how they process your meaning in their world. Give you a quick example. If someone is right-handed and you stand on their right side, they'll actually like you better than if you stand on their left side. If they're left-handed and you stand on their left side, they'll like you better than if you stand on their right side. If you stand at the foot of a table or in the middle of a table, human beings automatically give the person in those positions more authority than if they sat or stood anywhere else. Just knowing that allows you to manipulate and manage the environments that you're in to make everything you say dramatically more powerful. Plus, we're going to give you a 3-month trial membership to our NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. So if you looked at all of these, each one of these is a $297 value. The Forbidden Secrets of Human Influence Master Text, our Killer Influence Manual, is a $418 value. But not only that, one of the best parts about this is that we're going to give you access to our online community. Now, during the first part of the webinar, before we jumped over here, I was talking to you basically one-on-one. And while I couldn't see each of you, I was interacting with you as much as possible. In our online mentoring space, you will have the ability to literally interact with people in a Zoom room. You'll have be able to ask questions, have me watch what you're doing, give you specific feedback, and we literally drill down on your specific questions that you have. This is your chance to reach out to people who have the same interests, the same desires as you, and to really hone these skills. One of the things we have discovered at Planet David is that the fastest way to embody these skills is to use them. And the fastest way to use these on a consistent basis is to be around and with people who want to use them with you, who want to practice and feel comfortable using these systems. So if you took all of these and added them together, you're looking at a $2,497 value. But of course, we're not going to stop there by any stretch of the imagination. You know, Stephen, for example, one of my clients and one of my longtime students, took this material, took it back to his job, and in the first year he used it, he got a $10,000 raise. He used it again for his next evaluation. He scored another $10,000 raise. And then the third time he used it, he got a $15,000 raise. This was using the material that we talked about. Okay, anyway. Did some of you drop off when I said I don't teach this outside the mastermind? That's what I'm saying. So if you look at Stephen's results, and you can reach out to Stephen on Facebook if you really want to, total of $35,000 in pay raises just using the material in the Killer Influence system. This is work for politicians, salespeople, coaches, lawyers, you name it, it's worked for them. Okay, it's worked in everything. So again, $2,497 value. When you have these tools, you're going to be able to convince anyone that you want to gladly and practically do anything you want. You're going to feel truly powerful and in control of your life. Not only that, you'll be able to get rid of the debt, the loneliness, the feeling unimportant. This is kind of a weird slide to have here, but let me explain a little bit about why it's here. In other presentations, I've talked about survival skills. You know that you have three brains. You have your reptilian brain, you have your mammalian brain, and your neocortex. In the social world, but in a society governed by the rule of law, where you can't just go out and bludgeon somebody over the head, take their stuff, and run screaming, the ability to gain cooperation, the ability to get the goodwill of the people around you, is the single most important social skill out there. And what the hell just happened there? That was weird. Anyway, that was, someone just wrote across my screen. That's like somebody hacked my shit. Anyway, so that's when I talk about getting rid of debt and feeling unimportant and never feeling powerless again. That's what I'm talking about. The ability to get the cooperation, the goodwill, the trust, and the obvious, ultimately the obedience of the people you interact with is the most powerful survival skill. By definition, if you can't get people to do what you want them to do, you're doomed to extinction. Okay? But we're also going to show you some really cool bonuses that we've added to this program. First bonus that we're going to include is CPI Level 2. This is called Weapons of Mass Instruction. Perhaps the single most powerful persuasion device that has existed since the dawn of time, is the ability to tell to tell stories and metaphors. Human beings create narratives that govern their entire lives. If you've ever seen guys like T. Harv Eker or Lisa Sasevich, Robert Allen, these guys tell amazingly powerful stories. And there's a science behind the science. In other words, when people teach trainers trainings, they'll teach you that it's important to tell stories. They'll even tell you what kind of stories to tell. What they will not teach you is how to build the story, how to engineer a story for maximum persuasive impact. And as I was doing my research into study and metaphor and things like that, I became very, very unsatisfied with storytelling courses that other people had out there. And I realized, as is often the case, that if I wanted to attend an amazingly practical course on scientific storytelling and metaphor, I was going to have to create it. So I literally threw away everything that I had been studying in terms of what other trainers were doing, and I went to the neuroscience. I went to the social psychology people. I looked at the studies on the impact and influence of metaphor and story on the human nervous system. And I came up with 6 core modules. The first one is called alpha stories. Alpha stories are stories that amplify or add more persuasive impact or push to your message. These are the stories that most people learn. When anybody tries to learn any form of persuasion, this is usually the kind of influence they're trying to wield. But there's another side to that. There's a yin to the yang, so to speak, and those are called omega stories. Omega stories are stories that have the ability to reduce resistance to influence. The power of story is that they are never directly perceived as being an attempt at influence. When you have the alpha side of it and the omega side of it integrated, you can simultaneously amplify the persuasion push and reduce the friction, the pushback, or the resistance to the acceptance of your message. It changes people's attitudes, thoughts, and beliefs behind the scenes, in the backgrounds. There's another module that we incorporated in here. We call these connection stories. This is the ability to walk up to somebody and just start telling stories that generate and facilitate social connection between people. If you're writing any kind of sales copy or direct marketing copy, you must tell stories, especially if your demographic is female. One of the primary bonding mechanisms that females have is sharing stories. Men you can go a little light on the storytelling. Women, they must have stories in order to bond and connect. So learning how to connect through very short, very brief stories is one of the most powerful social lubricating mechanisms that you can have. There's a complete module on that. There's also a module in there that I'm pretty proud of. It's called Ninja Stories. And Ninja Stories are understanding how to deliver very powerful, very covert messages within the body of your story that amplify the entertainment value, as well as priming people's neurologies to take the behaviors, thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs that you want them to have. This is the thing that most public speaking trainers will not share with you. Guys like T. Harv Eker, guys like Mark Victor Hansen, who are all using the embedded techniques of NLP to load their stories with extra persuasion power. You're going to learn what they are, how they work, how to build them, how to use them, and most importantly, you're going to learn how to detect them so you no longer fall victim to them. Remember, without awareness, there is no choice. So whether you choose to use these techniques for your own personal gain and to help other people the way they're intended, or you just think of it as a self-defense course, this is probably one of the most important classes that we've ever taught. In fact, in this class, we actually take transcripts and of public speakers like T. Harv Eker, and we literally deconstruct their stories. We deconstruct the metaphors, the presuppositions, the language patterns. We show you in these in this module how they've built them, what they're doing, so that you can become more educated and choose whether to allow yourself to be influenced by them or not. And if you want to use them to create very powerful teaching tools and webinars for yourself, this is also something that is dramatically powerful. And again, if you're going to do public speaking of any kind, you must tell stories. If you want to be engaging and be someone who's fun and enjoyable to listen to, you must tell stories. This is CPI level 2. We're going to include this as a bonus. If you were to buy it on the website, which I'm not even sure you can right now, you'd be paying us about $1,950. We're going to include this free for you if you grab our Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion Home Study Course package. We're also going to include objection obliteration. I call this renegade reframing and the art of conversational belief change. One of the things that happens if you're classically trained in sales is that you run into people who have objections. It's too much money. I need to talk to my wife. You know, how do I know this will work for me? These kinds of things. Back in the 70s and 80s, the founder of NLP, Dr. Richard Bandler, would challenge his audiences to try and overcome his belief systems. And what happened was, yeah, a lot of these courses, Camille, have never been publicly offered through the website. They're loaded in the website, but access to them is usually only available through a live event package or a special webinar package like we're doing here. One of the co-founders of NLP, Robert Dilts, realized that there were 14 distinct conversational patterns that Dr. Bandler was using to destroy and eliminate and overcome any attack he had to his belief system. And using these, he could literally change and reframe anyone's belief anytime under any circumstances. Later on, one of the pioneers in NLP business applications, a man by the name of Kenrick Cleveland, discovered some other powerful aspects of these sleight of mouth patterns. Now, I've spent the last probably 10 years researching and going deeper into these patterns and doing my best to make them more fun to use, more user-friendly, and a lot less like calculus. And my version, my approach is called objection obliteration, renegade reframing, and the art of conversational belief change. This will allow you to overcome any objection, anytime, anywhere. Imagine for a moment what would happen if for any objection or belief that somebody gave you, any reason that somebody had for not doing what you wanted to do, you had as many as 14 different ways to change what they were thinking? What would that do for your ability to get what you want in the world? Just go ahead and type that in the chat. If you had 14 answers to any problem somebody came to you with for not doing what you wanted to do. Therapeutically, this is really useful because in face reading, one of the ways that you get people to heal through face reading is you unpack their facial features and then you help them reframe the emotional reasons they learned that stuff. Okay, so if you're trained in classical sales approaches and you've been taught objection handling techniques, this allows you to take it to superhuman levels. But you can also use it on yourself to change your own limiting beliefs. In fact, the last Sleight of Math class I just taught, that's actually was a big piece of what everybody did, is they got to write down all the limiting beliefs that they had, and then they systematically attacked their own beliefs until they changed. It's really, really powerful, right? So this is part of the bonus packages that we're offering for the Secrets of Human Influence program. It's a $1,950 value. Once again, not directly available on the website. Okay, it's yours free if you want to jump in before you register. If you register for the Secrets of Human Influence home study program before the end of the webinar. So you know how the system works. You can make more money. You can close more sales. You can reach more financial freedom. But you know what? You're going to need a coach because you'll have questions that need answering. You might need help in the accountability department. And I take my job as a teacher very seriously. I'm not just going to sell you a program or have you buy a program and then leave you hanging. My job is to make sure that when you become part of this program, you get everything you need to become unstoppable. And I'm going to do that by working with you one-on-one. And here's how we're going to do that. And before you go, what we've seen is that less than 23% of the people who try to do this on their own succeed. So if you've got some of this stuff and you haven't made it work yet, or you're not making the money you're supposed to be making, you might be because you're trying to do it on your own. Greater than 97.6% of the people who work with us wind up significantly changing and the quality of their life, in their romantic life, their social life, their personal life, their financial life. I had one guy close a $1.2 billion deal from one day of training. TJ, who I think is on here, his girlfriend, after half a day of training, went back to her business and closed a meeting for $1.2 million. She was the manager for the city of Poway. Lots of powerful, powerful results. And like I said before, in the field of persuasion and influence, a little bit of properly targeted information goes a long way. If information were enough, though, you could just go to Google and find this information and learn it and then go out and use it. It takes a little bit more than that. It takes a little bit more than that. And so that's why I'm going to make sure that you can do this. You can get this material, you can learn it, and you have the opportunity to practice it. One of the other things that we're going to do is we're going to throw in another bonus for you. This is, we talked about earlier, you heard me talk about hypnotic presentation skills for public speakers. Guess what we're throwing in? We're throwing in an extra bonus. This is for those of you who want to know about using criteria and values from the stage on groups of people. Okay? Charisma and conversion, hypnotic presentation skills for public speakers. Everything you heard me talk about, how to create stories. This is a lot more than just storytelling, though. It's a lot more than just criteria and values. This program is all about utilizing hypnotic persuasion from the stage. It is not a course on stage hypnosis. This is a deep dive into stagecraft, into the how to generate tremendous presence on the stage. Everything from how to stand and move on stage, to holding a microphone, to what kind of sound system you want, what kind of video system you want. And most importantly, there's a process in here we call persuasion architecture. This is the ability to generate a talk that is structurally designed to subliminally prime your audience to connect with you, to view you as authentic, to like, want, and desire your program, and have them rushing to the back of the room to take action on whatever you're teaching them. We call it one of my again, and there's a storytelling module in this, not nearly as deep as CPI-2, but there will be the 12 different ways to tell stories, 12 different ways to subliminally load your talk with subliminal buying triggers. These are things that I learned from one of my amazing mentors, Lisa Sasevich. and her systems speak to sell. I love Lisa's stuff, and I learned a tremendous amount from it. I combine that with the things I learned from thousands of other sources. Well, maybe not thousands, but hundreds of other sources, to say the least. Some I've paid as much as $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to learn, and I'm still learning. And I've included this here for you as a full spectrum, like I said, the ultimate ultra persuasion home study system. This is from soup to nuts, everything you're going to need. This is a $1,950 value. It's also yours free if you grab our Secrets of Human Influence training package before you register for the end of the webinar. So we look at this. I'm going to jump past this. Let's look at what we've talked about so far. If you grab our Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion Home Study course, you're going to get the 17 video Secrets of Human Influence 7-stage persuasion protocol, valued at $2,079. You're going to get the Forbidden Secrets of Human Influence Master Text, valued at $418. That's a 200+ page manual, by the way. There's an online community with over 210 active members. We're going to give you 3 months free. The 3-month trial membership. You can log in on the 3rd Saturday of every month in real time, where I literally go around the room and I say, Seth, what do you want to learn? Laura, what do you want to learn? Brian, what do you want to learn? Debbie, what do you want to learn? Right? Roger, what do you want to learn? And I literally write those things on my screen. I create a lesson plan on the spot. And for the next 4 hours, I drill you one-on-one with those things, in groups, one-on-one, until you can do them in your sleep. It is not designed as a certification course. It's designed to give you an opportunity to take the skills you've learned from the live events, from the home study courses, and in a live, dynamic, interactive environment, allow you to drill down and hone those skills so that you can take them out into the world and start using them right away. Okay? No BS. You're not going to get a certificate from it, but as part of this process, I told you I was committed to helping you personally. This is how we do it. Now, the best part about not only having a bunch of people to interact with is that each and every one of these videos, we've been running this course, we've been running the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program since October of 2010. We've video archived every single one of those meetings since 2010, literally 10 years of training, 10 years of video that has never been seen on YouTube, never been released as a product. You, as a member of that online community, will have full 24-hour a day, unfettered access to every single video in that archive for the duration of your active membership within the community. If you want to remain a part of the community after your trial is up, you're more than welcome to do that. We have an amazing, cool group of people. Everybody helps each other. Everybody works together. Idiots don't stay in our group. They kind of move on to other things. But that's priceless, guys. If for no other reason, getting access to the people who are as passionate about this subject as you, who want to utilize these things in the real world, this is an opportunity for you. That it doesn't come along very often. We're going to give it to you for free. If you like it, stay. If after 3 months you decide it's not for you, you haven't lost anything, right? Mastermind people are in the room. They can talk to you about what it's like for them. So once again, you've got the 17 video, 7-stage universal persuasion protocol, Forbidden Secrets of Human Influence, valued at $418. Online community is priceless. You're also going to get the Weapons of Mass Instruction, Scientific and Seductive Storytelling Secrets recorded live. This is a full 3-day live training. You're going to see people developing the stories, going through each of the modules. It's a $1,950 value. You're going to get bonus objection obliteration, renegade reframing, and the art of conversational belief change. It's a $1,950 value, also a recorded live training. You get the manuals that go with them. Each of these courses has a manual, by the way, and you'll get full access to those. You'll get charisma and conversion, hypnotic presentation skills for presenters and public speakers, live event training, valued at $1,950. If you could buy this on the website today, which you can't, by the way, you'd be looking at a total value of $8,347. Okay, and it would still be cheap. It would still be cheap. However, hold on a second. Now think about this. If all it did was got you a salary increase of 10 to 30%, if going even a step further, if it got you a better job than the one you currently have, right? Would it be worth it? Would it be worth it? If it let you attract the love of your life or simply anyone you wanted, would it be worth it? If it gave you the ability to increase your sales closing rate, your conversion rate, whether it's in print, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's in a job interview or a salary negotiation, a mediation, a jury case, if it allowed you to win and increase your win rate by 20, 30, 40%, would it be worth $8,000? Right? And you know, I had two choices when I started putting this together. I could go with the first option, which is make it as cheap as possible and try to sell you as many of them, and try to sell as many of them as possible. But you and I both know that scarce resources are more valuable. The truth is that the less you have to work for something, the more likely you are to not use it. And I don't want tire kickers in our world. I want people who are committed. I want people who are committed to investing in themselves. So I decided not to do that. What I did do was I decided to create a little bit of a higher investment that guarantees that only the people who are serious about taking their life to the next level will jump in. And obviously, the people, because less people will jump in, who are more committed, I can afford to take the time that I need to give them what the attention they deserve. Okay, attention begets attention, and you get to choose what level you want to interact with me. I have people that come in at $47. People come in at $10,000 a year for everything on the plate. And we can talk about those in other trainings. So if you were able to make more money, close more deals, achieve more financial freedom, to have more complete control over your life, what would that be worth to you? Seriously, think about it. Look at your sheet. Look at the sheet. What's important about these things to you? How about if you could feel more secure and confident, if you could get everything on that checklist that we talked about and more? What if the things that were most emotionally compelling to you on that list were just the beginning? What if it could just keep getting better? What would that be worth to you? What's the ability to get whatever you want in life actually worth? This is something I had to think about, something I think about all the time, right? $100, $1,000, 5,000, 10, 20, more? How much would you pay to get the master keys to influencing the hearts and minds of everyone you meet, to overcoming objections, to being able to influence people on the stage, to compel stories that make people want and desire and literally salivate for your products or services, right? You know, a lot of people have paid $9,000, $30,000 or more for one-on-one coaching, personal training. Our Platinum Mastermind members pay literally $10,000 to get FaceTime with me, to come to every single event, to be able to walk into any training we have and just sit down like they were always a member, right? There's huge amounts of people who have taken these skills and come in at different levels, okay? So maybe you can see why it's a good deal at $8,000. Maybe you can understand that why it might be a good deal at $3,997 for the general public. Maybe you can begin to comprehend why you're special to me. Why? Because A, you put up with all of our technical crap. B, you self-selected to be here. You came away with a desire to come away with something useful, something you can use, and something that will continue to improve the quality of your life. Just the criteria and values stuff alone that I covered at the beginning part of this webinar, if you apply it, your business will change. Your home life will change. The quality of your romantic relationships will change. It will cause you to have to make some pretty hard decisions, though, because you'll discover very, very quickly that some people will match your values and other people won't, and you'll stop wasting your time on the people who don't match, and you'll start finding and filling those spots with people who do. And that's just a tip of the iceberg. But you're special to me. Why? Because you chose to be here. Okay. As I often tell my full-time students, I said, by definition, the people in our world are not average. They've self-selected to become more of who they want to be instead of what the world conspired to make them, what situations and circumstances and events conspired to make you. They're looking for more freedom, more power, more awareness, more choice, more of everything they want and less of what they don't want. So not at a lot. The ads went out to a lot of people, the emails went out to a lot of people, but a select few chose to be here, and that's you. So I think you deserve a little bit more. So, you know, before today, the only way to get a lot of these secrets was through our live coaching events. Most of these sold out at $19.50. Some of our clients paid as much as 10 grand to work with me. But for those of you today, we're going to give you a really cool deal, special opportunity. If you're on the webinar today, and if you didn't make the jump from a Jet webinar to Zoom, oops, are you going to be kicking yourself? To get the best deal possible, you can get every single thing I've talked about: the Universal Persuasion Protocol, the secrets of hypnotic storytelling, the objection removal process, the Universal Persuasion Protocol, hypnotic presentation skills, a 3-month trial to our mastermind mentoring program, and the hypnotic presentation skills course. You can get all of it for one low price, one low installment of just $9.97. There's a link right in the chat right next to you there. If you're interested, if you have questions about it, Stephanie and Brandon and Henry are waiting in the chat. And both, Stephanie, can you go ahead and type your phone number in there? Go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. That's www.killerinfluence.com/go. If money's tight, and I know that it is, you can break that one-time installment into 3 easy installments of $3.97. Stephanie will take care of it for you, and you'll get instant access to every single piece that we talked about in the description of our Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion home study course. But you know what? As a special bonus, because you stuck with me, you worked with us through the technical snafus. As you're going to www.killerinfluence.com, pay attention, because we got some other stuff for you, some stuff that I think you're really going to love. Well, let me find my, first of all, everything that you get, this comes with a 90-day guarantee. If for any reason whatsoever you're not happy with the Secrets of Human Influence home study course, if you give it a good, if you put the skills to work, and you actually start applying these things, and if you're not making more money, if you're not closing more deals, you're not communicating better with people that you want to communicate with, if you're not feeling more secure and confident, if you don't find yourself gaining the upper hand in any social encounter and find yourself becoming the kind of person that everybody wants to be around more often, and I'll refund you. If this isn't working for you, I don't want your funds. I want you to have them. I want you to go ahead and feel confident knowing, A, I got your back both ways, both in terms of making sure that you learn this material, and B, if it doesn't work for you, you're going to get all your money back. Okay? You're going to get it all back. And of course, the best part is you can keep the materials. Now, that being said, it has happened. You can anything that's downloadable, you can keep. That being said, we do have certain security measures involved to keep people from doing what we call the old webinar hit and run, where they buy this shit, as soon as they download it all, they refund it within like 24 hours of doing that. So yes, if you try to do that, you will come under scrutiny and you will get on Stephanie's shit list. So I pretty much assume that the vast majority of people on this webinar are the right kind of people. But we do get those from time to time. So don't be surprised if we do ask questions. But not to keep you from getting your money back. We do it to make sure that you're applying the techniques properly and getting you the help that you need. If it's not working for you after that, we'll give you your money back. Not a problem. We have no problem with that at all. Okay? So the real question is it worth gambling a few minutes of your time to check this out? If it does half of what I've described today, it'll pay for itself many times over. All you got to do is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. Okay? Now, I told you to hang on because I got more stuff for you, right? For the next handful of people who act right now on this webinar while I'm here in real time. If you're watching this on the replay, you do not get this. You understand? If you're on the webinar live with me right now, this applies to you. If you're watching the replay, this does not apply to you. Everything else I've talked about up to this point does, but this is only for the people on this webinar right now. For those of you, we talked about the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. Of course, you'll get that automatically. We're also going to throw in the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course. This was a course I developed back in 2010. It's a $997 value that teaches you everything you need to know to go out and start hypnotizing people that day. You got 2 hours of video that you watch to teach you the 7 most powerful hypnotic language patterns that exist. You can take that. There's a video on instant and rapid inductions where you can learn the most fastest, most powerful way to directly hypnotize people, plus a whole lot more. There's a bunch of videos. Each of them covers a specific aspect of instant influence. These are things, again, I designed it so that you would have a fast start, a way to just go out and hit the ground running. If you have echo technique down, if you have these 7 language patterns, you will become dramatically more powerful in any social interaction. There's also, I believe, in that course, a crash course on 3 magic questions. There's one on instant and rapid hypnosis, and I believe we also have hypnotic hot buttons as part of that course. So there's a huge amount of information in that program. It's a $997 value. It's yours absolutely free as part of our fast action bonus. All you got to do is to get that as part of your package is to go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. Here's the best part, and this is kind of cool for me, because people come up to me at the end of every training after we've handed out like our offer catalogs and our event calendars and stuff like that, and they say, David, I noticed that a lot of the videos on your website are very close in price to the live event, and I'm kind of torn. And I'm wondering, should I come to the live events, or should I just buy the videos? And without a hesitation, without missing a beat, I look them right in the eye and I say, look, come to the live events. At the live event, you're in a closed universe with me for 3, 5, 7, 8 days, depending on what the course is. And during that time, you've got 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people to interact with. You've got me looking over your shoulder, installing these things, putting you through the drills over and over and over again to make sure you embody these techniques. Yes, you can pay with PayPal. So when you can, come to the live event. If for some reason you can't make the live event, the next best option is the video program. The optimal way to learn the materials is to come to the live event first, and then use the corresponding videos in whatever, at the NLP Power website or whatever programs you have to supplement it. Because once you go through the live event, you'll see the world differently. We call it seeing the matrix. And when you go back and you review those videos, you'll see them through different eyes. And every time you review those videos, you'll see stuff you missed before. This VIP ticket is very, very special. It's limited only to the first 10 people who buy today. Let me explain to you how our VIP ticket works. This is good for any event in our 2020-2021 calendar. I need to update this slide. And the way our VIP tickets work is if you have that VIP ticket, you can come to any event in our calendar, provided you have the prerequisites. A lot of our trainings don't require any, but there are some. Price points no longer matter. So let's say that you've got this VIP ticket and the event you want to come to is $19.50. You just let Stephanie know you got a VIP ticket. You go right to the head of the line. Let's say that the price of the event is $24.97 and you've got the VIP ticket. You tell Stephanie, you go right to the head of the line. One of the best parts about our VIP tickets is that price point no longer matters when you have a VIP ticket. There are some restrictions, like if the course goes over 7 days, then there's a small fee to make up the difference. But the other thing is your VIP ticket does not expire until you use it. I've had people get a VIP ticket at an event in 2016, and I don't hear back from them until 2019. They ask me if they can use that ticket, and I tell them absolutely, come right in. Right? It doesn't expire, so you have it until you use it. If you want to go to an event, or a friend of yours wants to go to an event, and and you want to gift it to them, you can transfer it to them. It doesn't, you have it until you use it. If something happens at the last minute, let's say you plan on coming to our Killer Influence training this July here in San Diego. You're all set, and then all of a sudden, God, the universe, or whatever says, oh, you can't go. You just pick up the phone, you call Stephanie, or you send her an email. She'll move you to another training. So you never lose it. If you want to come to a training at the last minute, all of a sudden your schedule frees up and you want to come, you have a VIP ticket. You pick up the phone, you let Stephanie know, and she will move you to the head of the line for that event. Even if the event is sold out, we will find a seat for you. Okay? It's really, really cool. Again, this particular ticket can be used for any event in our calendar. In our last webinar, we offered a VIP ticket only for the Killer Influence training in July. This one you can use for anything. If you want to learn hypnotherapy, you can come to Identity by Design. If you want to learn advanced influence techniques, you can come to any of the CPIs or Killer Influence. If you want to learn neurolinguistic programming, we recommend you have some prerequisites done first. There's a small charge for it because it's an 8-day training. But basically, if you have this VIP ticket, you get a free pass to any single live event I do. Okay? It's really cool. Seth, did I forget any other benefits about these trainings that I didn't mention? Yes, Dennis, you'll get an email from Stephanie letting her know that you're in. Thank you for jumping in, Dennis. I appreciate that. I look forward to working with you personally. We've got a great event coming up July. What are the dates for the July event? Stephanie, can you plug those in the chat? I didn't get a chance to update this PowerPoint slide for the Killer Influence event. We've also got a great event coming up in August, which we'll talk about. Well, we're going to go back to the Echo Technique after this. July 15th through the 18th, we'll be doing a 4-day Killer Influence training. Again, for those of you who've got the videos, this will be like jumping into the deep end of the, well, actually you'll be jumping into where you're supposed to start, which is the live event. And you and I will go deep dive, we'll go deep dish into the nuts and bolts of the art of hypnotic persuasion, how to use it, and become completely unstoppable in 4 days. We'll show you some really cool stuff. Some people will be able to get an extra 5th bonus day. If you're interested in potentially doing that, reach out to Stephanie and she can see if you qualify for that. So let's look at what we've got now, okay? We've got the 17 video, 7-stage universal persuasion protocol valued at $2,079. It's going to include the Forbidden Secrets of Human Influence manual. It's 200-plus page manual, $418 value. You get that 3-month membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Programs, completely priceless. You're going to get the Weapons of Mass Instruction, Scientific and Seductive Storytelling Secrets, recorded live, valued at $1,950. You're going to get the Objection Obliteration, Renegade Reframing, and the Art of Conversational Belief Change Program, valued at $1,950. Yours free. Bonus, Charisma and Conversion, Hypnotic Persuasion Skills for speakers and presenters, valued at $1,950. We're going to include the Fast Action Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, valued at $997. And we're going to give the next 10 people that jump in that free VIP bonus ticket. It's a $1,950 value or more, depending on the training and when you sign up, for free. I'll let you come to any single live event that we have with some restrictions in our 2020-2021 calendar, and we've got some amazing stuff coming up in 2020 and 2021. All you need is a total value of $11,294. All you got to do to get yours is jump to www.killerinfluence.com/go. That's www.killerinfluence.com/go. Okay. CPI 2, a recorded live. CPI 4 says live event. It's recorded live. I'm sorry, that's a typo. Every one of these recordings, every one of these courses started as a live event, and then we edited it down, cut out all the the downtime, so forth, and we packaged it for you as a home study course. Each of them will come with a complete manual that you'll be able to follow along with. You'll be able to download those instantly. and start putting the drills to work right away. The Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis course also has transcripts and workbooks that goes with it. Yes, David, that includes any event in Canada. Now, let me go ahead. David brought up a good point. Our VIP tickets, as a rule, are good for any event that is individually sponsored by me. In other words, if I do a CPI class and nobody's inviting me in, like for instance, like Canada, Mike Mandel is asked me to come in and do a CPI training. Usually, what we do, because I'm sharing revenues, I don't take the whole hit. If I give a bonus ticket out for one of those events, then the presenter who's hosting me loses money. So we usually restrict the VIP tickets to events that I'm hosting specifically. If it's being hosted by Mike Mandel, then the VIP ticket won't count, but you will get a big discount on that training. So if it's something you want to come to, just reach out to Stephanie. She'll tell you what the discounted price is for that. That's a good question. There are 2 or 3 people that have invited me to come to their neck of the woods to do a training. And of course, we're splitting the revenues for that because they're sponsoring me and everything else. So it's not fair to them to just make them take the hit. So that's kind of what we're doing. But those are done on an individual basis. But by and large, if it's something that I'm doing, if it's in my calendar and I'm not mentioning anybody else or it's not mentioned on anybody else's website, chances are the VIP ticket will count for something. You won't lose out. You'll never lose out on it. Even if we have to go so far as to give you another event for that. You know, we always try to make sure and bend over backwards to make sure that our students get the best treatment possible. And Stephanie has been absolutely amazing in making sure that that every one of you are taken care of. I'm absolutely committed to that. So, oh, another thing, once you learn the hypnotic language patterns, please don't try to use them on Stephanie. She's trained too. Okay? And I mean, some of you will try it. I know you will. One time, Neha, what does your question mean? I don't understand your question. Okay. So all you got to do is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. You can get every single thing we've talked about, over $11,000 worth of cool stuff that will put you on the fast track to becoming unstoppable on a social influence level, professionally, romantically, familially. It's amazing stuff. And it just keeps getting better the longer you continue to do it. 3 easy installments of just $397, or if you're ready and you know you want it, one low investment of just $997. It'll save you over $200. You're gonna get, and you'll be able to start right today. You start accessing and being able to watch the stuff on the website right here, right now. You can go right into it and start getting the leg up you need the way you need it. www.killerinfluence.com/go. I'm gonna go ahead and answer any questions that people have. Oh, people were asking about PayPal. Yes, you can use PayPal. I think you can actually use the, are we still doing the 6-month, no payments, no interest, paid in full option? Is that still available for our people? If it is, reach out. If it isn't, reach out to Stephanie. She'll work something out with you. So once again, 17-stage Universal Persuasion Protocol, $2,079 value. Forbidden Secrets of Human Influence, $418 value. Online community with over 200 active members. $200 or priceless, really. Go ahead, Brian, and reach out to Stephanie directly, and she'll be happy to work out the PayPal option with you. Stephanie just posted a link for you to use the PayPal option. Okay. But yeah, I think PayPal, I think our system will still let people do the no payments, no interest, or whatever option that is. Okay. Total value, $11,294. You can start today. You can be, and our next mastermind will be the 3rd Saturday of June from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You will get an email invitation and a Facebook invitation, and you can come in. You can ask me your most important questions directly. And for the next 4 hours, I will drill you on those skills until you can do them in your sleep. Right? It's an amazingly cool opportunity. I hope you take advantage of it. Okay? Okay. So let me go ahead and look at other questions here and see what I can answer. Then if it's okay, I'll take we'll do a 5-minute break. And then we'll come back and we'll jump into echo technique, and I will actually teach you a couple of sleight of mouth patterns so that we can start to play with this. And Stephanie says, yeah, and don't try to use it on me. Let me see how we're doing. Any other questions I can answer? Okay, so let's take, while you guys are doing that, I'm going to take a 5-minute restroom break. I'm going to come back. When I come back, I'm going to share my screen again, and this time we're going to talk about the echo technique. And I'd like to, if it's okay, share with you a couple of sleight of mouth patterns that I'd like you to play with. Albert says, looking forward to the package. Excellent, thank you, Albert. I'm glad you're in. You're awesome. Albert's also a mastermind. I think Albert's also a mastermind member, is he not? All right, take 5 minutes, come back, we'll jump into more stuff.
This pizza is really good when you're used to it. Like,
yeah. What is it? Is it pasta pizza?
like it's not.
Hey, it's good.
You know what? It's spicy. I gave a well, you're good for economy.
All right. Anybody else have questions? Let me see. Let me take a look at the chat real quick. The mastermind where we get feedback from David, is that live or online? It's both, Tracy. The mastermind group is pre-COVID was a simultaneous streaming where we would stream it live on Facebook and be teaching it in person. So there would be a live audience, and there would also be a virtual audience. If you are local, let me go ahead and go back to, let me stop sharing the screen for a moment. It was a great question. The way it works pre and post COVID is that on the third Saturday of every month, my mastermind students are invited to come into my private training room at my clinic in Solana Beach. And I start with them. I go around, Stefan, what do you want to learn? TJ, what do you want to learn? I go right around the room and I write down everything that they want to cover in person. Then I go to our virtual students who are streaming and I go around to them and I write down what they want to learn and I answer as many questions as I can. I look at everything that they've asked me about. I look where they all connect. I create a lesson plan for them right on the spot. And then for the next 4 hours, I drill everybody on those skills until they can do them in their sleep. Then they go out into the world and they put those skills to work. It's not the mastermind is not something you're going to get a certification from. What it's going to do is it's going to give you real world skills. It's going to give you the opportunity to practice, to get feedback, to hone your skills down, and go out with more confidence and a renewed ability to do it. Our live events are already head and shoulders above what most people do in the industry, because we literally do 3 times more hands-on training than any other trainer out there. In fact, a lot of other trainers are starting to copy our training processes because it installs competency in you faster. At the end of the day, if you can't go out into the world from a training and put this stuff to work right away, we haven't done our job. The best way that I can ensure that that's happening for you is to make sure your ass is in the seats where I can interact with you and observe, and you can get feedback from your peers as well as interacting. So that was a kind of a long drawn out answer to a very powerful and important question. So if you did nothing else but join the mastermind, you would be head and shoulders ahead of what's going on out there in the world, because most people, all they want to do is sell you a course and then kick you to the curb. I want to make sure that when you have that course, you own those skills, not just the course, right? So let's see here. Any other questions? Yeah, you have, Claudia, you have 90 days to put this information to work. If you're not satisfied for whatever reason, then you have a right to ask for a refund, right? You know, I just have to trust that people are ethical and honest and are not, you know, signing up for a program, downloading the materials, and then, oh well. What happens a lot of time though is we usually allow people the opportunity to apply the balance towards an event or another product if it's something that's a better fit for them. Stephanie is really good at making sure people get the help they need. And if it's a refund, it'll be a refund. If it's clarification on something, then you'll get that. If it's another product that was a better fit for you, we'll do that. We're very, very customer oriented in terms of making sure you've got what you need, right? And if for some reason we can't do it, then yeah, we'll refund it. Not a problem, okay? Let's see here. See. Mike's on as a list of information. How long does it take to process it all? If you start with this step, Roger, it takes you a while. That's one of the reasons that we kind of gave you the fast start stealth instant hypnosis crash course. It'll give you the fast action stuff that you need to start going out and doing stuff right away. But you're going to want to take the time. You're going to want to start. You're going to want to actually begin with the training materials in the order I presented. Start with the Killer Influence Universal Persuasion Protocol, and then once you've got a handle on that, jump into storytelling and metaphor, conversational reframing and belief change, and then presentation skills. If you're in a different situation, if there's a specific skill set that you need, maybe you have a background in NLP or hypnosis, and you know you're good at that stuff, but you want to drill down on sleight of mouth, then start there. I always recommend people start with the first thing we presented, and then supplement the other materials in whatever order is their preference. Okay. When we created the CPI system, which is all about linguistic processes, we designed it in such a way that once you had CPI level 1 or Killer Influence, you could do any of the modules in any order you wanted. So even though I gave you a recommended order, if your situation is such that, you know, going from Killer Influence to CPI 3 to CPI 4 and then back to CPI 2 is the optimal approach for you, that's fine. As long as you've got the basic CPI model, the Universal Persuasion Protocol, you can do any of the other modules in any order you want. So if you got something that really piques your interest and you want to jump right to that, make sure you've got your foundation and go to it. There's no law that says you can't. We designed it that way. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. David's talking to Stephanie. I just answered Laura's question. Can we use criteria and values for an audience we have yet to tap into? Yes, you can, but you have to do your intelligence gathering first. You have to know as much about that audience as possible. Now, that being said, if you go back and you watch some of my early YouTube videos, you'll see me tapping into criteria, and it's very subtle. You've got to really look for it. You'll hear me tapping into people's criteria and values. I don't know them from Adam. I've never seen any of these people before. They have no history with me at all. They've never seen me on YouTube. When I first created a lot of the videos you see on YouTube, I didn't have a YouTube channel. And so the early videos are really, really powerful because you get to see me in my early phases when I didn't have 157,000 subscribers on YouTube, and what actually built those people and how I was able to connect with them. A lot of the skills that you see me demonstrating or doing in the delivery of that information, we teach in the various CPI levels. But if you go back looking for it and knowing what to look for, then you'll see things that the average person won't see. Let's see here. What about resistance to storytelling? Roger, I don't know what you mean by resistance to storytelling. So if you can clarify the question, I'll try and give it a better answer. But I will tell you right up front that storytelling is one of the few methods, especially if you understand Omega stories. Storytelling is one of the few persuasion devices that actually dissolves and bypasses resistance. Storytelling, when done properly, is never perceived as a direct tool, a direct attempt to influence people. That's one of the reasons why it's so powerful. And people are hardwired neurologically, as well as culturally, to go into trance in the presence of a story. There are studies that literally show that when a person is telling a story to another person, the listener's brain automatically starts to entrain with the brain waves of the storyteller. First, they start out a little behind, then they keep pace, and then they actually start to move ahead. In other words, what happens is they become so entrained, they actually start to be able to predict what the storyteller is going to say next. That is a neurological phenomenon that happens anytime you create a context that implies a story. So, story work deserves its own treatment. Okay, I integrate it with a lot of other things, but by and of itself, you can make a career just on learning how to tell powerful stories. You could generate millions of very high-level public speakers and politicians are doing this all the time. Okay, so I hope that answers the question. What if the audience doesn't believe you? Then you haven't done your work properly. You haven't controlled your state, you haven't gotten rapport, and you haven't paid attention to what they need. You haven't demonstrated authenticity and authority in their world in such a way that they understand that you know them, you understand their world. Okay? There's no such thing as 100%, but storytelling is probably one of the most ridiculous. I didn't want to believe how powerful storytelling was when I first started studying it. And then the deeper I got into it, the more I realized when Bandit wanted to nuke an entire audience, he would just tell story within story within story, and people would have massive amnesia. There's a lot of things you can do with story work. Okay. But again, don't believe me, test it. Put it to work and see what happens, right? But going back to Roger's question, though, one of the things, and we cover this actually in CPI 4, is how do you make an audience believe you? Well, the first and foremost is there's two aspects to that, who you are and who they are. Your audience must be able to identify with you. Your audience has to believe at some level that you're just like them, that you understand their world. The flip side of that is you as a presenter have to demonstrate vulnerability and authenticity to your audience in such a way that they receive the impression that you understand them. But you also have to convey that you have a solution to where they're at that they don't have yet. So it's this whole, and the principle is called identification. And identification is one of the single most important human influence principles that exist. And the faster you can create it, the more deeply an audience will believe pretty much whatever you say. And there are some really powerful presenters out there who know very, very well how to engineer authenticity. And we cover that in both, we covered a little bit in CPI 2, and we cover it very, very in depth in CPI 4, which is the hypnotic presentation skills, both of which are included in your human influence package. So it's important. Getting an audience to believe you is absolutely critical. And I'm glad you brought it up, because it's an important thing, and we do cover it in the course. It's not just enough to give people information. They have to be able to relate to you. They have to be able to identify with you. And if they do that, then they will much more readily what's the word? They will put themselves in your narratives and act upon it as if it's actually them that's in it. Identification #1 model 3. I don't know what the 3I model. Identity is the #1 model. Identity and identification are related but slightly different. Identity is who you are as a person. What are your traits? What are your qualities? What is your own personal brand? What are your values? What are your beliefs? Identification is a process that we learn to leverage, because we understand who we are, we understand who our subject is, and we have to find the bridge that allows them to say, hey, they're just like me. And when you do that, now the bridge to communication, authenticity, and trust opens wider. So identity from the I3 model that you'll learn in Killer Influence is part of it. But then how do you bridge to that? Does that make sense, Laura? Okay, very good. Roger says, but then they say you can say that, but I can't. I work as a sales. I don't understand the question, Roger. You know what course you would really enjoy, Roger, would be Stealth Selling Secrets. If you want to swap out one of the other courses for Stealth Selling Secrets, you'll see a guy who comes from the pharmaceutical sales world, and he thinks he's got sales dialed down. You'll see us use criteria and values and frame control to literally beat him into philosophical submission using the criteria and value system. It's fun to watch. I co-taught that course with my good friend James C2. That might be a very interesting course for you to watch. It's fun. That guy became such a zealot for the CPI system that he literally went out and started begging to teach that particular component when he came back for subsequent trainings. Every time we came back to it, he would literally jump up and down like Horseshack from Welcome Back Kotter saying, "Oh, let me teach this. Can I please teach this?" And he would sell people their own pen, right? Lots of cool stuff about that. So, but again, test it. If it works for you, keep it. If it doesn't work for you, chuck it. That's all. Right? Laura wants me to tell the story about training in Israel. If I tell that story, we'll never get to more content, but I can tell it to you if you want. Does anybody want to hear that story? If you want to hear the story, I'll tell it. Type it in the chat. Okay. So the next Laura's all excited now. So the next thing we're going to cover is echo technique. Echo technique, regardless of its apparent simplicity, is one of the single most powerful influence tools on the planet. I said storytelling and metaphor were. If you combine these things, you get a whole that's greater than the sum of the parts. 2012, I was invited by Essence Security in Israel to conduct some corporate trainings. I was tasked to do 3 sets of trainings: a training for the VIPs, a training for the marketing department, and a training for the R&D people, because apparently the R&D people and the marketing people were not getting along very well. Apparently there was a breakdown in communication. The marketing people, the customer service department, would receive information requests from customers that they couldn't answer. They would go to the R&D division, and the R&D's division, their answer to anything from the customer service department was read the manual. Right? Now, let me preface this and say right in front, I love the Israeli people. They opened their hearts to me. They welcomed me with open arms. They treated me literally like a king. But I got to tell you, they are the toughest fucking audience I have ever encountered. every day was a battle with these people to get them to follow the instructions. We had like 5 rows of chairs for the group. They would come in as a group, and they would all sit in the back 3 rows. And I would ask them, could you all move to the front of the room? And they'd all look at me. They wouldn't move. And so I just looked at them, and I realized that they weren't gonna go. So I said, well, you guys realize I always call on the people in the last row first. They got up as a group and moved to the front. Second day they all come in, they're sitting at the back of the room again. Now they're on to me. The first joke doesn't work. So I literally had to have my assistants take the first 2 rows out, so now they're sitting in the front row. So we played games like this forever. At one point, I was doing a training for the market, or the R&D people. Now, I don't know if you've ever worked with R&D people. They're professional smart guys, right? They have multiple PhDs, they're hyper-trained, and they don't have patience for anybody who isn't an R&D person, right? So I'm sitting there, and I'm talking about the echo technique, which is what we're about to go into. And one of these gentlemen is sitting in the front row, and he's just looking at me like this. Right? And I'm talking, and you can just see him getting more and more, I don't know, looked like he had gas or something, right? And he looks at me and he goes, I don't believe it. I go, you don't believe it? He goes, I don't believe it. I don't believe this will work. I said, you don't believe this will work? Because I'm talking about the echo technique, which is using a person's own words. And so for the next 5, 6, 7 minutes, however long it was, everything this guy said, I said back to him. Right? And he just kept going. And one of the things you'll discover when you start using the echo technique is that when they get their own words back, they neurologically become predisposed to talking more. This guy starts going off. And everything that comes out of his mouth, every time I have an opportunity, I'm giving it back to him. He didn't catch it. His friends around right next to him were catching it left and right. They're looking at him like, dude, what the fuck? Right? After about 5 or 6 minutes, I had made my point to the rest of the room. He's completely oblivious. And as gently and as politely and as humbly as I could, I said, sir, have you realized yet that I've just been using your very own words back at you for the last 6 or 7 minutes? And he looked at me like, what? And he looked at his friend to his left, and his friend goes, and he looked at his friend to his right, and then the friend goes. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the old Yosemite Sam or Bugs Bunny commercials where Yosemite Sam drinks way too much hot sauce, and you see the fire just rising up like a thermometer and steam flows out of his ears. That was this guy. He gets beet red. I mean, beet red. If steam could have flowed out of his ears, it would have. He looks at me. He gets this defeated look on his face, and he says, are we really so stupid? And I looked at him. I said, no, sir. No, you're not stupid. You're selfish. Every human nervous system on the planet is selfish. It's moving through the world looking for itself. It's like sonar or radar. Sonar radar, when it's in use, it sends out little pulses, little pings, so to speak. And when that ping encounters an object, it bounces back, and the sonar or the radar interprets that reflection. Every human being on the planet is moving through the world pinging everyone else around them. And when the information comes back, the first thing it does is compare what came back to that checklist we talked about at the beginning of our webinar. You guys remember when I had you write down the things that were important to you? You guys remember that? Remember this. For every single thing a person could desire, there's a checklist. That checklist generates a feeling. We give that feeling a name, and we treat that name as if it's the holy grail of what's the gold standard of our world. Okay? Now, your neurology is looking for itself. You heard me mention, I think it was Tracy was asking earlier about I3 identity versus identification. What you're seeing now, what we're segueing into now, is the identification principle on a neurological level. NLP says that human beings are not in touch with reality. Human beings have an experience. They create a recording of that experience, and then that recording is edited in various ways until it creates not the way the world is in our minds, but the way the world is supposed to be. And then every time we communicate, the intention of what we want to communicate, the information that we want to communicate, passes through that distorted filter, and it comes out as words. When a person gets their very own words back to them, those words go into that nervous system as a perfect key to lock fit between what they meant and what they got back. And when that happens, the neurology goes into a very profound orientation state. In other words, I don't know if you're familiar with a term called an OODA loop or an OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. We're pinging the world. Something comes back that we recognize, we orient on it. Now we're paying attention to it consciously. And the more of our words we get back, the more our neurology is literally forced to pay attention. And so the way that you bind people to criteria and values is with the words that just came out of their mouth. Now, criteria and values elicitation goes directly to that emotional driver. Echo technique indirectly goes to that emotional driver. When you combine them, you get a whole that's greater than the sum of the parts. Okay. Hopefully the replay will not be quite so choppy. I apologize for any instability that the internet might be having. But the most powerful thing that you can do, the most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment, are the words that just came out of their mouth. Okay? Is everybody clear on that? Does everybody understand that? Good. You hate when they make a statement and they repeat it? Okay. Some people do. When you do that, all you got to do is repeat the first couple of words they said or the last few words that they said. The problem with people who ape what other people say without intention is that they don't do it congruently. They don't do it from the place of a sincere desire to interact with people. And that's the one thing that'll flag you. You see, there are exceptions to every rule. Nobody's 100%. But if you go and don't believe me, go to my YouTube channel, especially like videos from about 2016, probably through about 2017, 2018, 2019. When I'm teaching influence, one of the first things that I teach is the echo technique. And the first thing I tell people is the most powerful words a human being can use are the ones that just came out of their mouth. And then I pick on somebody in the audience who I just told them what I was going to do, and I'm using it on them, and everyone around them hears me doing it, but the person I'm doing it with is completely oblivious, right? TJ Zebo, one of my associates, tells a funny story. First time he came to train with me and learn the echo technique, he was like, "What? No way. No way." And so he took this technique, and he had this girl he'd been seeing for a while. They'd known each other for about 10 years. He ran over to her house, and she goes, "Hey, how you doing?" He goes, "Hey, I learned this amazing technique, and I want to tell you all about it. But before we do, tell me about your day." And so she starts telling him about her day. And every chance he gets, he gives her very own words back to her. Right? And about 15 minutes into the conversation, his friend looks at her, she looks at him, was a female, who's known him for 10 years, so I should set that. She goes, "When are you going to tell me about this cool technique you learned?" He goes, "In a minute. I'm really enjoying our conversation. Tell me more about your day." And for another 10 or 15 minutes, all he does is echo her words back. And she's going off and off, and she's talking and talking and talking. About 30 minutes into the conversation, she goes, "What are you going to tell me about this technique? Why do you keep putting me off?" He goes, in a minute. I'm really excited. I'm really enjoying this conversation. Tell me about your day. 15 minutes more goes by. 45 minutes into this conversation, he can't take it anymore. He busts out laughing. She looks at him like, "What? what's this about? He goes, you remember that technique I told you about? She goes, yeah, when are you going to share it with me? He goes, I've been using it on you for the last 45 minutes. And she goes, what? No. And he goes back and forth. He goes, you have not been using it on me for the last 40 minutes. I've been using it on you for the last 45 minutes. No, you haven't. I know you don't think I haven't, but I have. And after about 5 or 10 minutes, he convinced her, finally. She still didn't quite believe, I think. And then he pulls her aside and he says, quick question. How do you feel about the conversation we've just had? And she looks at him and she says, you know, I think this is possibly the best conversation we've ever had. Now, she's known him for 10 years. If anybody was going to catch him, it was going to be her. Here's the takeaway before we get into the nuts and bolts. And it's really very, very simple. The most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment are the ones that just came out of their mouth. Okay? The most important piece about delivering those words is the understanding that it is not a trick. The understanding that it's not a tactic. It comes from the understanding that echo technique, at its foundation, is the single most desirable form of communication to the human nervous system. It embodies, in a very powerful and very realistic way, the way the neurology wants to be communicated with. Okay? It generates a tremendous, even when it's negative shit you're talking about, it creates alliance on a neurological, emotional, and cortical level, a neocortical level. Because the words coming back to a person are a perfect fit for their internal map of the world. And it goes indirectly, but fluidly and without misunderstanding to their emotional hot buttons, their emotional criteria and values. Okay? There are many ways to use the echo technique without sounding like you're using the echo technique. We cover those in depth in the Killer Influence in the Killer Influence training, which is the 17 video course that we talk about. We also cover it in our mastermind, certain key things that make these, lubricate these things. So the idea is avoid thinking of echo technique as a trick. Avoid thinking of it as a way to pull something over on people. Instead, come from the place of understanding that the echo technique is the most honest, direct, and pleasurable form of communication a human being can experience. Okay? When things go south in a conversation, when things start to go in a direction that you don't like, or you say something wrong, go back to echoing, and it'll put control of the interaction back in your court. Okay? I have actually a small set of notes that I put together on echo technique for you. I'm just going to go through those really quickly. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to come back. I'm going to take any more questions about echo technique that you might have. We'll review the offer once again, and then we'll see where that takes us. For those of you who have used the echo technique, if you have nimble fingers, want to share some of your experiences with those of you in the chat, feel free to do that. Right? I'm happy to do that. Okay. Can you guys all see my screen okay? I need to put my chat back. Hold on. Where's my chat? Okay. Yeah. It works, guys. It works on me. The echo technique works on me. I've had students use it on me, and sometimes I catch it, many times I don't. I'll give you guys a little hack. It also works on Google, because Google was created by humans, right? So Google is moving through the world searching for itself. So if you want to hack YouTube, or you want to hack Google search engine rankings. If you look at what Google likes and copy it, to a certain degree, you can get very similar results on your web pages. Have to be careful not to do duplicate content, but if you copy the structure of what's done, it works really, really well. Yeah, I use this more on YouTube than I do on Google, and I actually teach that in CPI-4, how to do meetups and online events and things like that. So CPI-4, the hypnotic presentation skills class, for a lot of you, especially now, is probably going to be a very important course to have. So you guys can see my screen okay? I like to call this how to get maximum attention in minimum time, the ECHO technique. The most powerful way for human beings to communicate. Why? Because it literally forces a person's neurology to pay attention to you. A person cannot resist their own words, even if it's annoying them. The very fact that they're being annoyed means they're paying attention to you, right? By and large, if it's used ethically and congruently, what I mean by that is from a sincere desire to communicate and connect, then there's nothing to catch. Because if somebody asks you, why are you just saying my words back to me? Your response is literally because I want to understand you better. And I want to make sure that you understand that I understand you better. Is that okay? Now, only an asshole is going to say no, right? What many people do in lieu of using a person's exact words is they try to paraphrase, or they try to replace words. NLP makes their students do this. I recommend that you do not. This particular process has been field tested in everything from seduction to hostage negotiation to psychotherapy. And it works in every single field arena of engagement. It works in texts, it works in chats, it works over the phone, it works in letters, it works in homework. Believe it or not, I use this during my doctorate program. I actually use this to get really good grades on certain types of reports that I had to do. Anytime I could find an example of the instructor's own writing, all I did was copy the structure of it, and I would get an A. Right? Anytime I deviated from the formula, I ran the risk of getting a less grade. Because academics are amazingly rigid in how they go through data. Much more so than in real world applications. So like I said, I've tested this in a lot of different places, but don't believe me. Just find people out in the normal world, find humans in their natural habitat and echo their words and watch what happens. Okay. This also eliminates the problem of making small talk and boring conversation. And here's why. When you echo somebody's words, it stimulates them emotionally. They feel heard. They feel understood. They feel a sense of validation that what they said was okay and acceptable to you. And they want to make sure you get it all. They want to make sure you get it right. And so these people will start to talk more. And that's a good thing for you, because one of the biggest problems that people have in conversation is the art of small talk and keeping the conversation going. Every human being's favorite topic on the planet is themselves. The more they talk about themselves, the happier they tend to be. This stimulates self-disclosure. It causes them to give you more and more information. And it's about their favorite topic, themselves. So the longer they talk, the better you look. The more open, and you become the most fascinating person in their life. I used to believe that the most important words was their name. But using their name too much can come across as patronizing, because it's the same word repeated over and over and over again. So while their name is important, it doesn't have the same leverage that their words do. Okay? I would still use their names. Their names are important. But their names are important because it's about them. When a person gets their own words about them, it becomes about them at a deeper level. Right? So overusing a name can flag you faster than overusing their normal conversational words. But that's a great question. I don't get asked that one very often. It'll prime your target to keep talking and give you more and more information about themselves at the same time.
In our last webinar, we did a deep dive into the 3 Magic Questions protocol, which is an extension and an expansion on this echo technique concept. And we taught you how to use the 3 Magic Questions protocol to take their self-disclosure and use it as a way to simultaneously generate attraction and gather data that allows you to make a decision as to where to put these people in terms of their relationship to you. Are they in the hell no category? Are in the good friendship material category, the acquaintance category, or the hell no category, right? When you do 3 Magic Questions protocol in combination with the echo technique, you will simultaneously generate attraction and connection and trust faster, usually in as little as 20 minutes, while at the same time gathering enough information to make an informed decision as to whether to continue the interaction, deepen it, or eject. Okay? It was originally designed as a conversational attraction device for women to use on men so that they could sort out the losers from the keepers in 1 date or less. And so, and it's very powerful. We modified it a little bit so either gender could use it with either gender in pretty much any situation besides a dating context. So it's very powerful. But it begins with an understanding of the echo technique. Okay? The longer they talk, the more connected to you they become. Question, Laura says, how do you do that and install an independence in the students? I don't understand that question, Laura. Can you rephrase it or clarify it for me? It'll cause your listener to feel heard, understood, and accepted. In pickup and seduction parlance, we call this validation. Human beings are validation-seeking machines. They will orient and gravitate to people who validate their sense of self, their identity, their social status, yada, yada, yada. Using the echo technique properly generates a feeling of validation and acceptance in the other person, a feeling that they are desperate and hungry for, and they will move heaven and earth to keep it. And Nan is asking, is it possible to practice and use these influence techniques remotely, not face-to-face? Okay, I need you to clarify remotely. Are you talking remotely like through a video or a chat, or are you talking remotely as in like psychic work? Laura, I would combine the echo technique with criterion values and use hypnotic language to install and build up his own sense of ego and self-determination. Use his words to guide him to the behaviors and the activities that allow him to take an action and accomplish something. And also be aware that this tactic he's using may also be a secondary gain mechanism to get you to do shit for him. Just because you're using this technique with somebody doesn't change their character. It just changes how they feel about you. Okay? You can use it to change character and behavior if you have those techniques, but this is a connection, validation seeking, and amplifying mechanism. Okay? This is where it gets really cool in the last part of this. The echo technique matches every single internal filter a person has. So if you remember the CPI model, the Universal Persuasion Protocol, where I talked about controlling your state, getting rapport, using your language, managing their state, jumping into their process, and bonding to their criteria and values. 5 out of the echo technique satisfies 5 of the 6 steps. It will deepen rapport. It will bridge between that rapport and what's most important to that person, allowing you to manage their state. It will automatically match every single internal process that they have for making the decision you want them to make. NLP isolates anywhere between 3 and 5 unique structures that govern how our thoughts are processed. There's a VAK sequence, in other words, a visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory part of the brain, a firing sequence that the brain goes through. The echo technique matches it perfectly. We have meta programs, which are ways of filtering information and processing information that are context-free. Echo technique matches it perfectly. You have criteria and values. Echo technique matches it perfectly. You have strategies. Echo Technique matches it perfectly. People have a preferred modality. In other words, they have one particular sense that they use more than others, like their visuals or auditories or kinesthetics. And Echo Technique matches it perfectly. And they have convincer strategies, strategies that let them know that allows their neurology to accept a command or a process as being true and literal for them. Echo Technique matches their process perfectly, and you don't have to do anything weird. You don't have to think about it. All you got to do is give their words back to them in a congruent way. You don't have to modify tonality. You don't have to change volume. You don't have to do any of the weird things that NLP says you need to do. All you got to do is give them their words back, and all of those mechanisms are activated. If you can match their tonality, match the speed at which they talk, match their volume, then these things become stronger. But you don't need to. Their words are enough. And you don't even need to use all their words. If people talk in long strings of verbiage, the only thing you have to remember is the first couple of things they said and the last couple of things they said. Use those, it'll work perfectly. Another one of the byproducts of using Echo Technique is you get your memory improves. You get the ability to learn longer and longer strings of dialogue and information. And by definition, because you can remember it, you can now analyze it, which means you can mine it for additional hot words or hot buttons or emotional triggers and utilize those in your dialogue to make the communication with that person even more powerful and fulfilling. I have not found a single language pattern, a single linguistic technique that is as simple to use and as pervasively powerful as the Echo Technique. And I don't want you to believe me if you're new to this. Just go out into the world and start using it. Okay? Now, if you're using it on people who can't escape, like bartenders or waitresses or waiters, be a little bit more respectful. Okay? Because what will happen many times is that you will become so fascinating to that waiter or waitress that they will spend all of their time with you and ignore their other customers, which could get them in trouble. Okay? It will also sometimes get you a lot of cool free stuff you didn't ask for. Free desserts, free drinks, whatever. So what I recommend to all of my students, and I challenge you to adopt this for yourself, is adopt the Echo Technique as your go-to method of communicating with anyone you meet. Don't think of it as a technique, think of it as a way of life. And people will just orient on you. They will gravitate to you. They will want to spend more time with you. And after a while, they'll just start giving you stuff. They will just start giving you stuff. And the concept of ethics comes up. And Brian was good to kind of throw that out there. It is possible to use this Echo Technique unethically. We don't advocate that. We don't think it's ever necessary to lie, to cheat, to steal, to resort to any of those manipulative methods to get what you want. All you got to do is find out what other people want, link it to what you want, and people will do what you want them to do out of default. It is possible to do this remotely in a psychic sense, but you need other skill sets to go with it. Okay? Zig Ziglar said, you can get anything in life that you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. The problem is that he had the right idea, but in most cases, not as precise a tool or understanding as we're giving you. It is the same concept, absolutely. Zig was amazing. But this whole idea of active listening, of paraphrasing, of word substitution that a lot of trainers are still doing is simply not the case. It's not actually the most effective way. Hostage negotiators for decades have known, they know this, that a person's exact words are the best words to use. Okay? It doesn't get any more stressful or fluid than hostage negotiation. Right? Now, I didn't develop my technique from hostage negotiation. I developed it from a different a different application. But when I found the reports from the hostage negotiation field, they dovetailed perfectly with the systems we developed. So we integrated it. So whether you're doing David Grove's clean language, whether you're using my echo technique, you're using Chris Voss's tactical mirrors, as he calls them, it's the same concept. And it goes right to the identification principle. Human beings are moving through the world searching for themselves. To the degree that they see themselves or hear themselves in you is the degree that they bond with you, that they trust you, that they give credibility and authenticity to the words coming out of your mouth. Okay. I'll give you one last thing, and then we'll review the offer one more time, and then we'll call it for today. First of all, thank you all for dealing with our technical snafus. I know it wasn't easy. Okay. If you know, this goes to ethics. If you know, let me go back to this. If you knew that the echo technique was the single most desirable, ethical, authentic, powerful way to communicate with another human being, that it gave them the exact feelings they most wanted in the exact way that they wanted to have it, and you deliberately chose not to use it, who's the asshole now? Move through the world giving everyone you meet the gift of validation, the gift of feeling understood, the gift of recognizing that they've been understood. And they will move heaven and earth to deepen those relationships with you. And it really doesn't matter if it's in the bar room, the classroom, the mediation room, the sales room, the bedroom. Be the reflection of the people that they want to see. Avoid projecting yourself onto other people and making them wrong for not doing it the way you do it. And life will be the path to your door. Okay? But again, don't take my word for it. Just go out and use it and prove it to yourself. Just prove it to yourself. Any questions before I review the offer and give you guys a last chance to jump? Anand is asking about influencing in a psychic way. The optimal training program for you, Anand, would be to start with Killer Influence and then jump into Vibrational Influence 1, which is remote influence and remote viewing skills. If you have an interest in healing, then you might want to take Vibrational Influence Level 2, which has a focus on distance and remote healing. And then we have a Vibrational Influence class coming up next week, which is all about law of attraction and manifestation. So we have a few seats left for that. That's a virtual training, so it's live online just like this. If you're interested in that, check in with Stephanie, and she'll be happy to give you information on that. Brian is asking, am I familiar with Robert Greene? Yes, I have a huge amount of his stuff. I have Art of Seduction, I have Mastery, I have 48 Laws of Power. The other one you want to get is 48 Laws or Laws of Human Nature. That is an amazing book. If you don't have it, you need to get it. What do you say again if they catch you in repeating their words? If they catch me repeating their words, I say, well, I just want to understand you better. I want to make sure that I get it right. Is that okay? Who's going to say no? Who's going to say, no, I don't want you to understand me better? Right? And if they do, flag should go up. Flag should go up. Because if you're delivering the echo technique from a sincere desire to connect and understand, which you should be, and they respond that way, that tells you about them, and then you have to modify what you do. We don't create systems for the exceptions first. We create systems for what is most likely to happen to you, what you're most likely to encounter. Because if you sort for the exceptions first, you'll spend all of your time reinventing the wheel. Every human being is a unique, precious snowflake. They're all different, but not that much. And that's the thing you need to process. When you have a system that you can apply, it frees up bandwidth to deal with the exceptions that prove the rule. Okay? Nothing in the world of human influence is 100%, but this comes close. Comes really close. Yeah, Laws of Human Nature was really powerful. In fact, our Killer Influence program coming up in July is on counter manipulation and social self-defense techniques, psychological self-defense. And a lot of the material on narcissists, frenemies, and stuff was drawn from the profiles in Robert Greene's book, among others. But if you're interested in protecting yourself from social predators, narcissists, sociopaths, dark triads, Machiavellians, things of that nature, you might want to consider jumping into the Killer Influence training we got coming up in July, because we're going to be focusing and drilling down on how to use these skills for social self-defense. And again, you can reach out to Stephanie with that. They might get hurt sometimes when we use their words. Hasn't been the, it really depends on what your intention is, Neha. The words, their words will affect them more viscerally than probably anything else. But the mode in which it's delivered, the energy that you wrap around it will color how they process it. So if you mean it in a violent, vindictive, petty way, then it'll be processed that way, and it'll have significant effect. If you use their words from a spirit of commiseration or alliance, of support, then their words will actually create an emotional alliance and alignment with you and them that can go a long way in influencing them to a different way of thinking about the situation. Yeah, Diana said, no one's ever noticed. Yeah, they do. They just keep talking. And that's good, because the longer they talk, the more connected to you they become. Whether they become sexually or romantically attracted, there's a couple of other ingredients that you need to leverage that up or ratchet that up. We talk about those in the CPI and Killer Influence programs. It can happen with just the Echo technique. It doesn't usually. The Echo technique usually just leads to a deeper level of trust and connection, moving into attraction. But if you have a couple other things like social status and vibing down, then it can move very, very rapidly, or 3 magic questions, it can move very, very rapidly into attraction. And that's what you want. Yeah, if you're interested in those courses, and then we're going to go deep dive into some stuff that isn't normally talked about. I'm going to teach you how to do it, how to spot it, and how to defend yourself against it. Okay? All right, so last time, I'm going to share the screen. So once again, this is the last call for those of you who are on the fence and wonder one of those last VIP tickets. Our Secrets of Human Influence home study course, our Ultra Persuasion training package, includes 17 videos, the 7-stage Universal Persuasion Protocol, valued at $2,079. Forbidden Secrets of Human Influence Killer Influence home study manual, $418 value. The 3-month trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind mentoring program is priceless, plus the 10 years of archived video footage that you can just binge watch to your heart's content. Bonus video, Weapons of Mass Instruction, Scientific and Seductive Storytelling Secrets, recorded live, $1,950 value. Bonus number 2, Objection Obliteration, Renegade Reframing, and the Art of Conversational Belief Change. This is a fun course. $1,950 value, yours free. Bonus, Hypnotic Presentation Skills, Charisma and Conversion on Command, valued at $1,950. The Fast Action Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, valued at $997. And of course, the free VIP ticket to any single live event in our 2020-2021 calendar. This is especially important if you live in like the United Kingdom or the European Union, where the prices for our events are always in pounds sterling or in euros. If you have one of these VIP tickets, you get in at an even deeper discount because those exchange rates are often much higher. And when we do events in Europe, we use the local currency to price our events, not dollars. When we go to Australia, we use American dollars because we take a major loss. So if you have one of those VIP tickets, you save a huge amount of money, both in terms of the actual cost of the event itself and the exchange rates. So if you're on the fence, you might want to consider that as part of the your influence, your pros list as you decide on that. Total value, $11,294. All you need to do to grab that is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. Once again, that's www.killerinfluence.com/go. What I'd like to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and take any last minute questions before I send you off into the ether. Or not. Can't see my chat. Where'd my chat go? There. Is that it? No, that's not it.
David, this is Stephanie. I just wanted to jump in and say that Brandon is working on sending out those welcome emails. You'll get it from him.
Okay.
If you don't see it, check your spam, but they are being done manually, so it takes a little bit of time. So be patient. We got your order.
We appreciate your enthusiasm and your patience for this process. My administrative goddess, Stephanie, is always behind the scenes, making sure you get the best possible customer service and you get the products you need. Brandon and Henry, the team at Jet Webinar, in spite of all the snafus, they're always working hard to try and make your viewing experience the smoothest possible. Doesn't always go the way we planned, but I appreciate their efforts and I know they work hard. And so my thanks to them and my loyalty to them, because they helped. Honestly, if it wasn't for a lot of what they did 5 or 6 years ago, we wouldn't be here now. So they're a big part of our team, and I just want to recognize them for their help in this process. Let me go ahead and where did my screen go? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay. Okay. Again, I'm going to type that link in the chat one more time. http://www.killerinfluence.com. Hopefully I typed that right. /go. killerinfluence.com/go. Thank you all for hanging out. I love you all. Look forward to the next time we get together. I hope it's live. I hope we get to see each other live and in person, and go back to the way we do things, rocking worlds, taking names. This is David Snyder, over and out. God bless.